Hello, campers, and welcome to the podcast that goes bump in the night. In tonight's episode, we take a trip to a cold European village where we help our friend Ethan find his daughter. That's right. Tonight's episode is a spooky book club. To celebrate the 1-year anniversary of our book club, the Campfire Gaming Podcast proudly presents to you a Resident Evil Village book club.
Thunder sounds.
Sorry, Jenna Feathers. How we doing? It's gonna be a little bit dark until I get my light back up, but it's not working for me. So
It's even better.
It's good. I'm doing good. I'm excited for this episode. I love that intro.
While Mike is getting his light back on, be sure to visit our website at campfiregamingpodcast.com. There you will find links to a lot of previous episodes, including this one. You'll find links to our Twitter, Instagram, at Camp Game Pod, and our Instagram, which is at Campfire Gaming Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe us if you're watching on YouTube. We love to hear from you. Give us your feedback on Discord, which you can also find on the website. And with that, let's kick it off, boys. Resident Evil Village. As Mike said, to mark the 1-year anniversary of the book clubs.
There will be spoilers. Let's get that out there in the start.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
I always said that right off the bat.
And this is a newer game, so definitely don't
Yep,
listen to this
yep.
if you haven't played
Is-
this already. And you
is this
plan
the
to.
most recent game we've done? Like, is this, when we looked at all of our book clubs, is this the most like
I think it might
recent to release?
I think it
Probably.
is. Let me pull up my
gonna
document because you know I have one, right?
We were talking
Yes.
about we talked about doing Psychonauts 2 right
Yep.
after
yep.
doing Psychonauts.
Yeah.
But I think this is probably the most recent because this has actually come out this year. So
Right.
Yep. It's the most recent. I think the next is Destroy All Humans, but that technically is an old game that was remastered.
Yeah,
So-
that was
Right,
already made,
right.
so,
Yeah, so this is our newest game. So
up until
Came out
next
this year.
month,
This
up
is
until
true.
our next book club,
Yep.
which
That's
is even
true.
more recent.
That's true. Very recent. But we'll get to that.
We will.
We
get to that.
absolutely will. Welcome, campers. Per usual, my name is Mike. I'll be the host for the evening. Hopefully, you're listening in the evening because it's spookier. With me, as usual, Chris, Matt, Rich, Gentle Feathers. Let's kick this off with who wants to start with a synopsis. Anyone feel like reading a little bit or explaining what the game is about?
I
Not
like
Matt?
Chris's
Not Matt?
synopsis. He has a good one. I think prepped and ready to go. Unless he doesn't want to read it.
All
All right, go ahead and read it, Matt.
Yeah, go, Matt.
You
Oh, you
like
want
it
me
so
to-
much, you go read it.
Okay. I had to find it here. I have like 3 documents open.
Can you
So,
read it like super bland and as if like you're just reading a paragraph from like
Like what's
Like
his
you're reading a
name?
paper in high school.
Yeah. 3 years have passed since the Dulvey incident. Ethan, Mia, and baby daughter Rose live in European town, far from Louisiana. Their peace is disrupted one night when, after putting Rose down for the night, a hail of bullets seemingly kills Mia. A special ops team led by Chris Redfield, not Chris Radcliffe, takes Ethan and Rose away through the trip quickly disrupted as Ethan wakes to find the truck destroyed and Rose missing. Following a trail of blood, Ethan stumbles into the I'm not even going to try
Eponymous.
the
The eponymous village.
village already under siege by lichens. Was that good enough?
There's one more line.
Is that land? Oh, there is. I can't read complete. As Ethan searches for Rose, he tries to discover why she's important to Mother Miranda's plan. But first, he must deal with the 4 lords of the village.
So I'm disappointed that you said that it was a like special ops team because they have a name and you could have used it. Disappointed.
But it wasn't said at the beginning of the game. I didn't want to drop things too early.
Oh, but we know it, and we already said
I mean,
spoilers.
we can talk about it now because
Nope.
Well, what's
Gone.
the,
it's
what's,
gone. It's gone.
what's the special ops?
Are they special ops?
I mean,
I mean,
yes.
yeah, you could. I mean, they were basically the Resident Evil Call of Duty team.
Yeah.
So
Or maybe.
I mean,
I
they-
thought that was the BSAA, but
it is the BSAA. Yeah.
it is not the BSAA.
it
It's
is
not.
Umbrella Blue.
Yeah.
Umbrella
Yeah.
Blue. Oh,
Yep.
I thought it was the BSAA.
Come
They
on, I
reference it a
even know
couple-
that, and I
didn't
this
know,
is
man.
only the
They
second
reference
Resident
it
Evil
a-
game I played.
They referenced it a couple of times in the game, so I figured that was
Yeah.
probably what they were.
Nope. Just that the BSAA is doing some shady stuff, but we'll get into that towards the end
Yep.
of this thing.
Damn BSAA. I
So
only just learned of them.
just a quick walkthrough on, if you haven't played a Resident Evil game, this one is a first-person survival shooter, I guess. I don't know, horror shooter.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of puzzle aspects to it. You are kind of searching through and finding things to be able to progress the story. So you're meeting new people, you're finding items that work at like different locations than what you currently have. The way that the world is set up a little bit is like there's a hub in the middle of everything that you kind of keep going back to before you jump into the other areas of like the game. But it's not one of those things where you like load into a new area. It's seamless. You're able to just like walk through those different areas from the hub world, and it's littered in werewolves. Just littered.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And a little bit more on that. This is would you call this a sequel, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Not
absolutely.
interval.
Yeah, it's a direct
is-
sequel.
Sequel
it is-
to Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, which
Yes.
if you haven't played that, we have a wonderful book club episode
I was gonna
that we
say,
did.
If you're watching
last
this
year.
on YouTube, there will be a link below in the description, so you can go listen to it.
Yeah, that was the starter to the book clubs. That was,
It was a
the
lot of fun.
first
Mhm.
one we did. So it's
That
kind of
was our-
cool to come back.
To circle it all back, yeah.
Just listen
No,
to
no.
the episodes back to back.
And
I
without
guess we
spoiling
have
the
to-
episode too much, I mean, we were all pretty highly favorable of Resident Evil 7, not just for it being, a pretty fun game, but I mean, for Resident Evil fans like myself, it was kind of a return to form.
Yeah.
Even with the sort of first person, the shift to being a first person shooter kind of a game, it still maintained a lot of good elements of horror, that survival, like, hunting around, scavenging, looking at stuff, that puzzle solving, backtracking, all the cool elements that made a good survival horror game back in the 90s.
I'm actually really happy with the shift to first person.
I am too.
It felt really good in both of these games. So
Yeah.
I'm
It did.
totally fine with not going back to that third person aspect of it. So
Uh-oh. Should I be worried? Because I want to go play through 1, 2, and 3.
they're good.
No,
Um,
they're good. Yeah. They're
It'll
really
just-
good and you should go play them. But I think I agree with Mike in that, this sort of shift to a first person perspective really, really sells the horror even better.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
man, so much so.
There were some areas I was like, I'm just done
Mhm.
playing for the night.
Yep. And we'll get
Um,
into that. And
Yeah,
I'm
we
excited to
did-
get
oh
into some
my
of those.
God.
So just really quick, what did you guys? What platform did you play on?
I played on PC, mouse and keyboard.
PlayStation 5.
I wanted the ray tracing, so I played on the Series X.
I thought you were gonna say Stadia because I had the ray tracing too. And yeah, I played it on Stadia.
It's actually really
time.
awesome. We're all on different platforms, so
Yep, we'll be able to see. Do you guys have any performance issues? Because I know Dan was talking performance issues or like breakdowns in the game, but I think that was just the demo.
I
It was
think
just
it
a demo, yeah.
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 he ended up picking up the game, and so far I don't know how far he got, but it's working. So
Okay.
sounds like the demo might not work if anybody's trying to. It might not work so well on some computers if people
Sure.
are planning on trying that first.
Just buy the game. Don't
Yeah.
worry about the demo.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's good.
Cool.
But performance-wise, especially on PC from where I came from, it ran so great. And I think that's, I got to hand it to them over at Capcom and making this, the RE engine, the one that they've been
Oh,
using for the
man.
like not just for Resident Evil 7, but they've also used it for a bunch of the remakes. So like the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake, they've used this RE engine, and it just works so well.
It's
Like,
so pretty.
yeah,
It's really-
it performs really, really well.
Yeah, I had no issues on the Series X. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't think of any on the PlayStation 5 that really got to me.
So that's kind of what I wanted to get into with the performance on this. Is well, I had a hiccup, but I think that was my internet and not Stadia because it only happened at one spot at the very end of the game. So I don't think it was the Stadia itself, but just getting into the RE engine, it's holy balls is that thing pretty. Like everything that they're doing with that is just amazing, and they need to just keep going because good stuff. Graphically, I thought this game was just mind-blowing for most of it. Especially with the environments, being able to create
Oh my gosh.
the ambience in each of these places, like, oh my god, was that cool.
Yeah, it really, really sold you on the immersion with not just like really pretty visuals, but the sound design in the game was phenomenal as well. Like it really, really sold every little like creak and crack that you were walking on, like different, wood and stone and interacting with objects and all that. It was just, yeah, it was just great.
I only had one problem with the sound in this one, and that there were often times where there was none. And that was a design decision.
Interesting.
That like no, it was in the game. Like they built it that way.
Right, yeah.
That there
I
was,
don't
like,
remember.
There was
parts
just
for this?
the dungeon out in Lady Demetro or Demescu's
Dimitrescu.
house. Lady that name.
Lady D works too.
Lady D.
the big D. In the dungeon underneath, there was no music.
Oh yeah.
All of
yeah.
all of the sound effects were just everything going on around you. So and it happened in a few other places as well, where all you're hearing is like the gurgling of these creatures and like chains clinking and like the footsteps that
so
you
creepy.
have, and it's playing this game at like 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was. It was just so creepy to have nothing. Like the whole house is quiet, the whole game is quiet, and all you get are these things. I had an animal kind of like jump up unexpectedly on me, and I almost shit my pants. Like it was, it was pretty good. So, but that was my only problem with the sound.
So how do we want to go through this? I mean, do we kind of want to just dive right into like some of the gameplay, or do we want to kind of go through like all the spoilerific stuff?
Let's walk through the story, I think, and we can or walk through some of the areas at least.
Sure.
Maybe, and we can talk about gameplay as it feeds into those things, or if you want to talk separately, we can do that too. I'm open.
No, I think that's a good idea. So you kind of happen upon this village after you get a nice cutscene of poor Mia getting mowed down by a bunch of bullets. I don't know. What did you guys think about? Was that shocking to you?
Well, I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I like in the trailers, you got some of this.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, damn, there's a baby upstairs. Like, what?
After everything that went on in RE7, I was like, this bitch still messed up. There's something wrong. So there's got to be a good reason for this. So, which we do find out. But so I wasn't surprised. Like, okay, now I just got to play the game to figure out what's going on. So.
Right. I mean, one of the things I actually really liked is that at the very beginning, if you go through the menus, they actually do give you a nice synopsis of Resident Evil 7. So if you haven't played it and you kind of just don't care because the game is like 4 years old at this point, something like that, 4 or 5 years old. Yeah, it gives you a really good synopsis of what happened at the whole the Baker family residence and what happened to Mia back then, and brings you up to speed. That was pretty nice. That was a nice thing to do.
And spoiler, I think the canon ending of 7 is you actually give the serum to Mia.
Correct. Yeah.
So not Zoe.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Mike picked the wrong ending.
That means you save Zoe and she gets ripped in half, and then you stab Mia in the chest and she dies. That's the other ending. So
well, and I think
that's what I did.
There's DLC that saves Zoe, if I remember correctly. So
nope. In my world, she's ripped in half.
Mike, I'm surprised you just didn't turn off. I'm surprised you didn't just turn off RE Village. And you're like, that's not this isn't canon in my world.
Hashtag not my ending.
So to be honest, the lady friend, she was like, "How is she still alive?" Like,
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, it's they're going off of the canon ending," and she was all disappointed. She's like, "They should have made the game to go in whatever direction you wanted it to
Don't
to
Mass
go from the
Effect
last one."
Resident Evil.
I was like, "Okay, but then how do you have a baby? Like,
Right.
you
Or
can't.
is it-
Like, there are pieces to this that don't line up if you don't."
We can
How do you
also
have-
talk. We can talk about this how to have a baby thing once we get to the end and we talk about the ending.
Yeah, it gets
'Cause
way
I have
more
my
complex
questions
than you
around
really
that.
think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true. It's a bit strange. So yeah, you end up in a car crash after that, basically. So they load you up in a van, and then you wake up and that van is like flipped over and you're in the middle of like snowy wherever. Like there's no indication of where you are, just that you are in a van that has been demolished. There's dead bodies and you're by yourself. No weapons, no phone. You're just back to good old Ethan, right? Like
Mhm.
thrown into a situation that you're just like, what the hell?
Sorry, I'm laughing over here because in a van down by the river.
I was thinking it.
Nice.
Yeah, and your kid and your dead wife are gone.
Yep.
So, and everybody, wasn't there two dudes just laying there dead too?
I remember.
Yeah, there was some
Or
soldier
some-
dudes.
Was there
Mhm.
two? I recall one, but
I
We'll
know
just
there
say
was
it's the
one.
Soldier Bros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
Because
man,
you go pick up his phone and
Yeah.
then someone is like, who is this? And you're like, Ethan. And they're like, beep. You're just like, what? No.
that whole walk in the snowy trail following the blood was so creepy, with the crows hung up and the one live one, and you catch the glimpses of something out there, but you can't see it clearly. They set the tone so well right off the bat in this game.
It was good.
Mm-hmm.
They
And
did-
honestly, I really love the snowy setting. Just in general, for some reason, I just thought it sold the atmosphere of this
Mhm.
village very, very well.
Yeah, I love the theme, especially running through the Dimitrescu house. Just that whole Dimitrescu, the old Dimitrescu, Lady D, big tall bitch, her house. No, the whole town, like everything was just kind of.
You just put Deuce Bigelow in my head. That's a huge bitch.
Wow.
But like kind of almost like there was one part of it that was kind of modern, but it felt old. It felt
Yeah.
like some
Yeah.
really out in the middle of nowhere town that also fit the theme with the lichens and vampire.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
that's what she
vampire-ish.
was, a
Yeah.
tall
Yeah.
vampire lady.
Yeah. So it was. I like that aspect, or that atmosphere, that theme. It's a lot of fun.
So I'm gonna
So-
be on. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just gonna lead us in the next part. Go ahead. If you
Oh, I
get
was
a-
gonna
a
say.
bit.
So, on that confession time, I didn't realize that those were lichens right off the bat, or like before they started calling them lichens or werewolves or whatever. When I first saw them, when you first get into the village and you start interacting with these creatures, I was just like, "Oh, it's the orcs from Lord of the Rings." That's what I saw it as.
I
was
can
just like,
see
these
that.
things remind me of the orcs.
Especially later on when they get that armor on, they look
Yeah,
just like
when they-
orcs.
Yeah, they look like Uruk-hai. I was like,
Oh my
"Oh,
God, I
cool.
never
These are
thought of that.
orcs."
I mean, I guess to me that was kind of nice though. It wasn't your kind of maybe traditional looking lichen, right? Or
It
werewolf.
was like gross, hairy dudes,
yeah,
right?
yeah, like a caveman.
I can say that because I am one, but like they were just really hairy dudes with like
Mhm.
bigger muscles. They kind of lurked around. It was
They wanted to murder you,
Yeah.
yes, they did almost
Mhm.
immediately.
I was gonna say
Mhm.
one bites off.
dude. What the hell? Ethan can't catch a break like in any game. Freaking the whole game, he's going 3-fingered.
Yeah.
I know. He was playing as an elite the whole game.
Yeah,
Nice. So basically, you get through that little bit where you are, walking away from the van, trying to figure out what's going on. You see this beautiful, at least in my opinion, it was beautiful. That first image coming over the top,
Mm-hmm.
screenshot of like the whole world you're about to get into. But then you look down, and there's just this like crap hole village, It's like decimated. It looks like it's been just
It's old.
Yeah.
ransacked. Not just old. It looks a little murdery. Like there's blood in the streets. There's things. There's like ripped apart livestock laying in the middle. There's like dead horses. It's just not a happy place. Like you did not walk into Santa's village. You walked into something else.
I think there was like, yeah, there was just like you said, like goats' heads. I think there was bodies and halves of, bodies hanging, crows hanging from trees. Like it was a good time.
Yeah.
It was very welcoming, right?
Very warm.
Definitely want to get a timeshare there.
And then you start walking in and you meet like Bill, this dude who's just got a gun.
Bill.
And that's what I'm giving him a name. He didn't have a name. He didn't live long enough to have a name.
Say, he lived long enough to give us a pistol.
So he hands you a gun. He's like, "Who are you? Are you armed? Crap, they're coming." And you're like, "What's coming?" Like, I don't even know what do you mean, what's coming? Gives you a handgun, gets ripped through the ceiling, blood goes everywhere, and then it just says, this is my favorite part of the game so far. It says, "Survive the werewolf attack" at the top of the screen as like your quest. And I was like, what? I have like 7 shots with a pistol. How? And that's the first 2 werewolves, like bam, 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 1 bullet left. I guess Ethan's done. Like, just take yourself out there, bro. But yeah, you're supposed to just like run and survive from this thing. Did anybody fail that quest?
No.
Okay.
I think I tried
you were
stabbing him
supposed to.
a few times.
To
but-
fail it?
Yeah.
Well, you're supposed to get to a certain point to trigger a cutscene. So you fail it, quote unquote.
Yeah, so
Got it.
you're talking about, yeah, so once you're out of that house, you've killed those, whatever, 1 or 2 werewolves, and then you
Yeah.
get into the town some more. That, yeah, to your point, Chris, once you're swarmed and big, I wrote his name down, whatever that big bro comes and gets you.
Urias or something like that?
Urias.
I don't know if that's
Yeah.
how you pronounce it.
We're going to call him Urias. So, yeah, and then that's when you're supposed to, I
Yeah.
think, get
Mhm.
die or whatever. Well, not die, whatever, something scares
Right.
them off.
And
but
that's where you lose your like hand chunk is in that bit. That like MF forgot his wedding ring too. I don't know if you noticed, like that was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like
He bit it off.
Really?
Like I said, he was
I thought
playing.
he-
He was playing as an elite.
I thought he still had it.
He lost his ring finger and his pinky.
so you'll notice like at the end in the dream sequence he had it. But through the rest of it, like it bit off that portion of his hand. Like it was like
Huh.
yeah, it was his right hand, and he lost his
Yeah.
pinky and
That's your left hand.
finger.
the left. I was gonna say Matt.
What did I say, right?
I
I don't
Oh,
know.
boy.
I don't know my directions.
And then you lifted your left, and I was like, okay, is there a screen switch
Just
here?
make-
Like,
Just making sure people watching on video are paying attention. So.
got
Yeah.
it, got it.
We'll get comments.
That's what
But-
we're doing.
Yeah, I was a little frustrated with that attack because I'm just running around, just trying to kill a bunch of the lichens, kill them. I'm running out of ammo, going, like what? And that's the experience you're supposed to have. But then my feeling immediately after, and Urias comes in, he's just about to murder my face, and then gets scared off. I'm like, shit, it's a survival horror, and I just wasted all that ammo for I could have just stood there and died, and I probably would have had, been able to
Yep.
keep
yep.
all my ammo. Luckily that didn't become a problem later, but I was, again, survival horror. So my mind is like, I just wasted all that. But
Oh,
Son of a bitch.
before we continue, I'm curious, what difficulty did you guys play on? Did you play on casual, standard, or hardcore?
easy with the Prima guide sitting right next to me.
That's no surprise.
I'm kidding. The normal, the default, whatever it is.
Yeah, I
The
played
standard.
standard.
And I
Okay.
did not look at a guide.
Promise.
I played it.
After I beat the game, I realized, spoiler, there's 4 of those ball games hidden
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
And I realized I went through one of the later levels and didn't find that one. And I was like,
It's
well,
a
where the hell
warehouse.
is it? Yeah, it was
Yeah, I couldn't
warehouse.
find it in warehouse.
And I was felt real
It
bad
was
'cause
right across from the
from
Duke.
the elevator. I'm like,
Yeah.
how did I miss that
Oh,
door that's right
whatever.
there?
That door was really well blended into everything else. Like it was actually
Oh.
really hard to see that because you had like the red lights in front of you, the Duke to the left hawking up his lungs, and it was really like it just pulled your vision away from that in general because it was like a
Well,
really
and
dark spot on
Yeah.
the wall.
By the time we got to the warehouse, I was like, man, I just want to power through this thing. I did not. Like
But
the
yeah,
warehouse.
so
But
no
anyways.
Prima guide other than trying to figure out where that 4th ball game was at the end. So normal. That's what I played on.
I played on casual. I normally play Resident Evil games at a higher level. I love Resident Evil games. I played a lot of them. I just didn't want to deal with dying a lot. I didn't want to deal with like the constant death and like retrying parts because I enjoy the puzzles more than like the boss fights and things like that. So that's where it was for me, is like the exploration and like the putting things together versus, scripted boss fights, kind of like it just, I don't think it made that much of a difference in my opinion. Maybe I would have died more, but I think it still gave me the same experience.
Yeah, that's fair. I was just curious where we were all sitting at. Cool. So yeah, we get through some extra antics in the village. We meet a couple of the villagers. They bring us to a house that is just like the most murder hobo house that I've ever seen in a Resident Evil game, which was actually pretty funny. Like when
That's sad.
Yeah, you meet up with some lady and her dad, and you help them escape their house and get to somebody else's house. And it's a lady who's sheltering a whole bunch of people. And like you're all just kind of sitting around a table, like trying to be safe or whatever. And I love how like the dude just goes, like there's one guy in there who's just like, no, like we got to get rid of these people. Like these are outsiders, yada, yada, yada. And the dude just gets the sword out and just machetes the lady that's like helping everybody. And then she's just kind of like, ah!
So it was a different dude. Like it was one of the outsiders that put the machete into the lady whose house it was.
The chick and her dad. Her dad, if you remember, as you're sneaking up to the house in that little side house there,
nothing but complain.
There was a whole bunch of lichens and stuff like that. And when you get in the house, you find out he'd been bit. I was like, hold up, wait a minute. Something ain't right, and we still help her because it's a video game, right? Why not, right?
Because Ethan is a good guy. His mom
Ethan
taught
is a good
him
boy.
right.
He is a very good boy.
So we help him inside, and then that person is the one that starts going crazy because they're transforming into a lichen or whatever.
So this kind of like the end of the game bothered me at this aspect. Ethan got bit and never turned into a werewolf. Correct. Other people got bit. I know what Ethan is, and like we'll get into that part. But I was really like, as soon as I saw that guy transform, I was like, son of a bitch. Based on like the cover screen or the cover of the
cover art
box art. Yeah, box art. Thank you. I was like, Ethan's gonna be a werewolf. I'm gonna be a werewolf.
Except it's Chris Redfield on the cover art.
Is it?
Yeah.
So he's a lichen?
Is he a werewolf?
He is not.
I mean, if you think about that, Mike, though,
he is hairy.
Towards the end, when you're reading through the books, you find out that the megamycene, they kind of affects people a little differently. That's how we'll get into some of the other bosses. So I'm guessing that just instead of turning him into a werewolf or this, we're just going to keep tiptoeing around this.
Ethan is a special boy and it doesn't count.
Yeah, yes. It doesn't.
I get it. I get it.
That's my guess.
I was just disappointed that after seeing him get bit, that nothing was like Ethan didn't slowly start to get like superpowers. Like,
and I'm guessing that's one of the hints they dropped to be like,
sure,
he is special.
I mean, they did tell you like big one. They told you like 15 times to the game, like, oh, let's see how special you really are. They made all these little comments here and there about it. And I feel like maybe they did that because they got some criticism about how the hell did Ethan get his hand back in 7. Like he just poured some like fluid on it.
Dude,
and it was fine.
Good. That's good shit, man. Not only did it heal, like when later on he gets his hand, the other hand chopped off. And did you notice not only did he heal his hand, that shit healed the coat too.
Yep. It's super great.
Together. That shit's good.
Look, a little herb and chem fluid. That's all you need.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah, so everybody in that house just gets, dies by either the werewolf or fire that gets started.
Yeah.
Well, and can I maybe you guys have an answer for this because I looked and I could not find it. How did that truck get inside that house? There is no big doorway for that truck.
There was
exist.
a garage behind you.
I can't.
It was
I couldn't
covered. It was
see
covered in. So if you went to the wall behind the truck, there was a bunch of boxes and stuff. If you went to the right angle, you could see the garage door behind it, and that's where I was when I saw what you did, and you drove through the house to get to the stairs to go to the top.
Yeah.
I was like, why? Why the hell didn't you just go out the garage? Like back that truck up and get out the. Why? What are
'Cause we
you
needed-
doing?
As
Ethan's
we
a
needed
special
to,
boy.
we needed
I
to
guess.
finish murdering everybody because literally the start of the game, everybody Ethan meets, excluding like, or I guess from the first level, say not the part where you were at home and blah blah blah, right? But everybody he meets, it just dies.
Oh, yeah,
Literally everybody just dies.
Issue for Ethan.
So yeah, so they needed a way. There's like that. They're writing the script and probably building love. They're like, oh shit, this one chick is with him and she's not dead yet. How do we kill him? I don't know. Let's put a truck in here, start a fire, make him climb up, and then make her be dumb and go down to her dad and be like, oh, and then die in the fire, which is dumb.
Mhm. She died in a fire.
Like
She
what?
she
like-
gave up, right? Like she had lived in that village her entire
Yeah.
life. She was like,
Everything she knew was
where
gone.
else am I gonna go? And Ethan's on this trail to go find his daughter. It's not like he's gonna just be like, hey, lady, I'll take you to safety first and then I'll come back, right? That's not happening. He's got a mission to do. So you put 2 and 2 together. I don't think she thought she was getting out. You might as well go your own way instead of, being eaten by a wolf puppy guy. It
Yeah.
just
She was with her father at the end.
Yeah.
It was touching.
God, the
It-
first 10, 15 minutes of that game, just Ethan's got his shit together, man. He got his hand bit off. He
So-
almost got murdered by some lichens and the big dude with an
Speaking-
axe. He watched tons of people die, and then he's just like, F it, I'm gonna still go find my daughter.
Speaking of Ethan has it all together, I don't know if you guys noticed this because I played a little bit of Resident Evil 7 beforehand to kind of get back into it. Ethan's reload animation is different. He now
Yeah.
reloads like a cop or a soldier, not like just a random guy anymore.
he's been
Well-
through some shit.
Remember,
he got training.
Yeah,
Remember,
he gets he
Red-
gets a little bit of military training from when they
From-
ended up moving. Yeah, because
from-
from the transition from 7 to 8, they talk about how Mia and him get moved from where they were, and I don't know, it's not like a wit sec or anything like that, but they put them into like a protective custody
Mhm.
with Chris Redfield, and they moved him
Yeah.
out to Europe. Where in Europe, I wasn't entirely sure.
They
I
never
don't think they
said.
specified where in
And-
Europe they were.
No,
think
because
so.
then they have to make landmarks and stuff and make it kind of in that vein.
Well, and
This way
some
they could
people will get offended. And
But yeah, they did mention he had training with Chris Radcliffe.
Chris Redfield.
I don't know if he had his shit together too well, because constantly through the game, like you climbed out of that house and he was like, why does everybody just keep dying around me?
It's
You
so
know,
dramatic.
and then a whole, like, a few other parts he's like, oh, this is fucked up, like, oh my god, this is terrible. He's kind of whiny through the, like, I understand he's been through a lot, but he's also really like whiny about how is all this stuff happening. It's like, don't you remember Louisiana?
right.
Didn't you have that whole experience? Like, stop questioning things and just do it. Like, don't hesitate anymore. So
And so once all this stuff kind of goes down, you kind of navigate back through the rest of the village, and you get a key, and you're basically making your way downtown, walking fast with faces past, because you're yeah. But you get captured. You get captured by Heisenberg, the guy with the cool sunglasses and the cool
Yeah.
hat.
Magneto.
And then he brings you before the Mother Miranda, because you learn about Mother Miranda throughout their time, meandering the village, and that Mother Miranda is supposed to protect everybody, and she's
They're
kind
like
of not.
worship. Yeah,
They worship,
her,
they
kinda.
worship Mother Miranda, and so you meet the four lords, and then Mother Miranda herself, and then they have a nice good debate, and then that's kind of what kicks off, I guess. Basically, the rest of the game is that Mother Miranda basically hands you over to Heisenberg's custody, and then he basically puts you through like a challenge, so to speak.
did anybody else get like Hunter S. Thompson vibes out of
a little
Heisenberg?
bit. Tiny bit. I can see it.
I don't know who that
Like-
is.
You ever see
Same.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas? Johnny
Nope.
Depp's character. Okay.
Nope.
You're gonna have to go see it, but I'll send you a video of it, and you guys can tell me if that kind of rubs you that way. But
Oh, he just reminded me of like a Magneto meets Van Helsing kind of a thing.
Yeah.
yeah, as far as he looked, I could see that. But I got like a cross between Johnny Depp and Hunter S. Thompson, which is kind of funny because he played Hunter in Fear and Loathing. But anyway,
Got it.
I'll send it. You'll understand it.
But yeah,
But yeah.
so after the meeting, your mother Miranda gives you essentially the Heisenberg, and he basically runs you lets you run an obstacle course, being chased by Lycans and having just a whole bunch of murderous traps.
What building was that? Did they? Whose building was that? Because I don't think you go back to that place.
No, that was just it was just to the north of the village. You never go back in.
Yep.
Not
Not that I'm aware anyway.
No.
I did think it was cute that you had to escape a trap by jumping through the garbage chute.
Right.
Yeah.
In Star Wars.
It might have been up at the Stronghold. I feel like there was some. I retraced somewhere. And
Well,
I was like, oh, this is familiar.
I backtracked to that area later because you can do some hunting there for fish, and the bridge is up. You can't cross it anymore. It's off.
But that's the castle. I think that I'm trying to remember. I think it was the Stronghold later area in the game that I recognized some of the pathways. I was like, oh, was Murder Town when we were being chased. Might have been up at the Stronghold. But anyways, yeah, you never actually get back to that location that you're getting chased out of.
Yeah. So once you finish that up, you get to the part that everybody kind of was super familiar with. And I think this was I didn't play the demo for this game, but from what I understand is that this is basically kind of where like the demo starts.
The maiden demo, yeah.
The maiden demo, yeah. So then you're basically going through Lady Dimitrescu's castle. And that's kind of like I said, like this is basically what kicks off the whole game. Which I mean, is anybody else surprised that that Lady Dimitrescu, even though that she's been like kind of like a face of this game, was really only in this game for like the first like third of the game?
I expected her to be Miranda.
Yeah,
I didn't
be like the final boss.
Not like once I was in and I saw there were two separate entities, I was like, okay. But I thought she was going to be much further back in the game than what she was.
From her and her daughters, I thought were going to be like kind of like I almost thought she was going to be the mother Miranda, the big boss lady, and you were kind of the smaller bosses that you'd probably fight through the game would have been her three daughters. But like what pretty quickly once after you get captured and you kind of make your way, like you kill one of the daughters real quick, and I'm like, oh okay. I was like, okay, yeah, she's just gonna be a small boss and gonna kill all her daughters to get to her kind of situation.
It sounds like even Capcom didn't expect people to kind of latch onto her as much as they had, so they were a little shocked that people really like this one. Whoops.
There's a lot to latch on to.
There certainly is.
That's amazing. So after you kill one of the daughters, stuff starts to get pretty real in the house. You've aggravated the big D, and she's kind of hunting you through the house. I wasn't a fan of that part. I felt like it was recycled from like Frank or whatever his name was.
Yeah, Daddy Baker.
Yeah, just hunting you down through the thing.
I mean, it's kind of a Resident Evil staple.
Yeah, but it wasn't okay. So in 7, when he's hunting you, that was terrifying because he'd peer his head through like the door, and he like you didn't see him beforehand. He was just like, oh hey, and you're like, oh no, I gotta run away, and like there was dread running away from him.
So you're telling me you didn't shit your pants? I forget what room it was. Just walking around, and I go to walk up to the door, and Lady D, literally 9-foot Lady D, squeezing through a normal person thing. You don't just shit your pants whenever she's just like, "Oh, hey there, Ethan." You know?
The only spot that was, in my opinion, that way was when you're in her bedroom, or not, or is that her bedroom, or is that like her dressing room where you get her key?
Office.
Oh yeah.
Where she took the phone call and all that. It was just one of those things where it was like. That was the only one that was like, I did not expect her to like reopen the door and be super mad at me.
You know,
that was one spot where I was like, okay, if that was unexpected, cool. But just traversing the house, it was always like she's up on the balcony and I have to go to that room. Okay, I'm gonna bait her down, and then I'm just gonna blow by her and not care. Like
Yeah.
it didn't have that same effect of a Resident Evil chase.
Yeah, what I found it to be more reminiscent of was Mr. X in the Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yeah, that's what I was
How-
thinking.
Yeah, when they changed up Mr. X to be just like constantly wandering through the police station, and he's just always kind of on patrol and just someone that you had to avoid basically to apply pressure to the player so that they had to like kind of pick it up a little bit to kind of go and solve the puzzles and figure their way out.
Well, the thought I had after finishing the game is it's trying to kind of mentally prepare you for the next house, because it's a much more significant factor there.
Yeah. Yep, that's
It's kind of seeding it in your mind that that's something you have to do. Like, you're not supposed to always face these guys off, that sometimes running away is just your best option, and you can kind of get around them.
Yeah. But I mean, I would say that the thing to note about this part is that this is probably one of the most, like, I would say, classic sort of Resident Evil areas of the game, where it's very much, it does a lot of that. There's a lot of puzzles in the castle. You're finding different keys and unlocking doors and kind of backtracking through different rooms and things like that, and kind of unlocking events as you progress through the whole thing. Yeah, that's just something that I wanted to note, is that like this definitely felt like one of the most like Resident Evil parts of this game.
It
Yeah.
definitely
Agreed.
was probably one of my more favorite areas because of that aspect. It's just kind of going room to room, trying to figure the puzzles out. You're fighting the girls, the daughters, and avoiding Lady D. But I mean, I agree, Mike. I mean, Daddy Baker was so much scarier. I mean, I remember running into him the first time, where I'm walking down a hallway and he just fucking busts through the wall and he starts chasing me, right? I never really, that crazy moment where Lady D comes out through the door, but never quite hit the same like Daddy Baker
Right.
did chasing you.
I kept getting scared by the stupid daughters just like popping in front of my face with the little like bug swarms that they would do. Oh God, that was so annoying.
Did you guys how quickly did you figure out the whole, I guess, mechanic to beat them? Was that pretty quick for you guys?
Yeah.
Just basically breaking windows or opening, what was it? That's skylight, wasn't it, for the one? Yeah.
Yeah, you shoot the glass for one, you open the skylight for another, and you blow open a wall, right, for the third.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it was. I was trying to think what the third one was. Yeah, I didn't think they were fun, I guess, but I didn't think they were too challenging. And they gave you clues way early on. Yeah. There was I think there was 3 or 4 collectibles and some other little hints here and there about the bugs don't like cold.
Yeah, there's a lot of notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pick up a lot of notes that kind of tell you that, these, like, it gives you some nice backstory on what the sisters are and what Lady D kind of is. Like, they say vampires, but like really they're all kind of like experiments, and then it's just kind of cool learning about, like, you have that dungeon beneath the castle that you're running through, kind of what Mike was talking about, how that was just like super creepy. And then you find out that like all of those monsters down there are really just Lady D's like failed daughter experiments.
One of the creatures you shoot in the basement is the character from the Maiden demo after she's been turned.
Oh, really?
That's that
That's
random
cool
necklace you pick up in the basement. Ingrid's necklace. Maiden demo. That's first.
Gotcha.
I also don't know if they were all failed experiments. I think some of them, it's pointed out somewhere that all the people in that house, that even like the workers, were all women. And at some point, I think there was a story for some of them where it's like, oh, she's getting pissed at me, she's going to send me to the basement. Yep. Which then you also find out that the cellars, but you get to run through one of these, and it was one of the coolest, weirdest things is they talk about drinking their wine, and how the Lady D has their special, their brand that they have, and you find out it's really just made with, humans, and that's where a lot of that female help, and I'm sure other people ended up down there to make that wine. So
it's the same wine in Ethan's house.
Delicious.
Oh, I didn't notice that either. That's the same wine that he was using when he was. Got it.
That Mia was going to have him take a glass of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't notice that either.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's a really cool. Like if you caught that in that moment of the game, it's pretty neat.
I feel like this game, you could probably say it's about a lot of things, a lot of entertainment, but this I think is one of those games where one, they promote you to kind of go back. I don't know if I will, at least not for a few years, but they promote you to go back and play because you get those RE credits or whatever, and you can buy machine guns and other guns and blah blah blah. But I imagine it's one of the games where you start picking up on other little hints that you're like the wine bottle, because I didn't notice that the first way through, but I was like, oh, okay.
Well, yeah. and there's another little hint to what's going on. So at a certain point, because we haven't talked about it yet, after Lady D slams you through the floor, you're kind of roaming through the basement. You get to a grate and you grab a hold, and then her finger chops off your hand, and it's a completely disgusting moment, and you kind of have to dodge around here and then get over it and do it again, and that's where you get to see the mystical powers of the healing mechanic, because it allows you to save that somehow. But if you actually go into your inventory and investigate your hand, as weird as that is, you will see that on the inside of his arm or of his hand, there's some weird green flecks that a human doesn't normally have there.
I did not inspect it. I was too busy running.
I thought that was just graphics. Like, to be honest, I looked at it. I was like, what do I got to do with this? And yeah, it looked like it was just little bits of, okay, maybe they screwed up on a texture. Yeah. So I didn't put that together.
At first I didn't, but as soon as you get to the ending, it's like, oh okay.
Mm-hmm. It was this point in the game where I'm just sitting there going like, Ethan can't catch a break. Man. Like he's literally, because we didn't mention this. I mean, his hand got bitten off. Obviously, we just mentioned his hand got cut off. When he first met Lady D and her daughters, they put these razor things and strung up by his hands, and like that's just in the first house. There's other things as you play through here, and obviously from the first game where I'm like, dude, it's taking a beating.
Well, not only that, I mean, I thought,
right?
Yeah,
but
yeah. Speaking of hint, I'm sitting here going like, okay, there's some like serious bullshit going on.
Yeah.
When Lady D just takes her fingers and just like stabs him in the gut.
Yeah,
she stabs him in the gut, and he's like, all right, I'm cool, we're fine.
Yeah,
it's all good.
I knew something was up, but I was like, at that point in the game, I didn't know. I was like, again, something ain't right here. So I was like, okay, I guess I gotta. What is it? It's a video game. It's a video game.
I was really disappointed in that room because like these three girls drag your ass into a bedroom that's like all dimly lit with a fire and whatever, and then they string you up and then leave you there. Like, I thought my man Ethan was finally gonna catch that break. He's got a lady like a large dominatrix there with her like helpers, and this is gonna be a good time. No, they just leave you there, and you have to like hoist yourself off of the like hook that they put through your hand. Like,
no, he didn't hoist.
Ethan.
He took his hand and ripped it. So it's true. He did. Right up his hand. Oh.
Lady D said his blood was stale. They didn't want him. They were gonna hand him back to Mother Miranda.
That's another hint right there, saying
yes,
the blood is stale. Interesting.
Yeah,
it's all over the place, man.
As soon as
once you get to the end, and you'll find out, you're like,
right. But like, you knew that there was something, like with what Rich said when he stabbed through the gut. Yeah. It was just like, let's go. It's just you didn't know what it was. You
didn't realize the
I
extent.
Was wondering.
The stabbing through the hand. Mine, to Rich's point, was when he puts his hand back on, sprinkles a med whatever juice on it, and his coat, not only his arm but his coat heals. I'm like, again, something ain't right here.
It's just a really good.
I thought that was just some good first aid chemicals. Like, that was just good stuff. It heals everything.
Nanobots.
So after you truck through the house, you go through the basement, you get to the like upper levels, and you're all around this house. You kill all three of her daughters. Then it's Lady D fight. The big fight in the big D. She transforms into what I can only explain as like a hippogriff.
Yeah, I guess that kind of works.
Crossed with a centaur, right?
Yeah, it was like a hippogriff made out of like a gargoyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she had like her weird head thing coming off, or like torso coming off of it as if it was like a giant gargoyle centaur character, right?
Mhm.
What'd you guys think of that boss fight? How did that go for you?
That's good. I thought
Yeah.
that was kind of fun. I like that pretty early on they give you like a sniper rifle in the
Right.
game.
They kind
Something
of
that I
you
don't
for it.
Yeah, like something that I don't think I've ever seen in a Resident Evil game before is a sniper rifle.
Did you
But I
use it
thought-
a lot?
Oh yeah.
Especially on that boss fight too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really, really handy.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't struggle with it. I mean, they gave you a bunch of ammo right to start, and I was playing very conservative, so I had a bunch of ammo already. So at that point, it was just like, oh shit, and you just keep hitting her. And did you have landmines at the time, or maybe it was a pipe bomb? But like it was like threw like 2 or 3 of those at her, and it did her in pretty quickly. So, but it was fun just crashing around that tower and good times.
I did the whole thing with a pistol. I'd been collecting everything and building up, and I bought all the ammo from the Duke. So when I got to that boss fight, I had like 86 rounds outside of the handgun. So I was just like, all right, let's go. And just pumped her full of handgun ammo the whole time. I walked out of there, didn't even use the sniper rifle. Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. I think the mechanics of it were pretty good. Almost died to the bugs that she sent out because I had no idea how to get away from those. Like I ran around the one side of the building and then it like closed in this way. I was like, well, I guess I'll just stand here, let them hit me.
I was bummed you couldn't keep the knife that kind of started this
Oh,
whole
Her
yeah.
thing.
special knife. Yeah.
You found a special knife, then you stab her with it, and then she gets all mad and turns into a weird monster thing.
I think
It
that's something
flies
you can
away.
buy.
Probably after the game.
Yeah,
with
once you beat
your
it,
credits, yeah. As I say, it flies away, and I was like, oh, like it seemed pretty important. I was like, oh, maybe I'll need this to
You go back
stab
for
everybody else.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you beat everybody else with not that knife. So, yeah.
I think that was specific. I think the book or the note that you found about it was specific to Lady D having like needing to use that knife to take her out because of some immortality clause in her contract.
Yeah.
I got to make sure I write that into my contract.
Can't be killed
Right.
with ceremonial knife, or only killed by ceremonial knife.
So after you beat her, that's when you find the weird, because nothing has been weird already. The weird thing about
This
your
is
daughter,
normal.
right? Yeah, they're like everything else is normal.
Oh,
Then you find out that your daughter's been quartered in jars.
Okay, so I got the jar. I was like, well, this is cool. I wonder what this does. You kind of head back through. You get to the Duke, and he's like, mother effer, you said I'd find my daughter. He's like, you have. And I was like, oh, Christ. Like,
Oh God.
look down at the jar and like scribble off the stuff, and it's just inner baby. I was like, oh, jeepers.
I forget
They
if,
did
like,
not.
Was it like head, legs, arms, and torso were like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
it's
they were
something
put
like
in jars, and there was 4 of them, and obviously gave them to the 4 bosses in the game. It was a good time.
That's like some old school mobster shit right there.
Yeah.
that. Mhm.
I don't understand why each of them got a vial. At the end of it, reading through the notebooks, I don't understand why any of them got a vial. Like
Video
it didn't-
games.
Yeah,
needed a purpose
honestly
to
at
go
that
kill 'em
point,
all.
yeah, I'm sure they'll chalk it up to it's part of the ceremony, but realistically, yeah, it's a game mechanic and that's it.
Mhm. Speaking of getting to, since we've gone through this point, we've mentioned him a couple times already. What did you guys think of having the Duke as a shop? So this is kind of a big difference between Resident Evil 7 and this one, is that they reintroduced the whole idea of a store.
But it's a throwback to good old Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also being a throwback.
Yeah. I liked them.
I liked him because he seemed to provide a little bit more story, as you kind of went back and forth to him throughout the game. I wasn't a fan of the whole cooking stuff, mostly
That's
because
weird.
there's a few. I'm not a fan of. They do it because they expect you to play again, but I was dumb and I missed a few fish. So I was dumb and didn't realize that there's only so many fish, unlike the other meats that you have some extra at the end. So I was a little pissed that there was an upgrade I didn't get because I didn't get all the fish. So like like that was a cool idea, kind of add that aspect to it, collection of meats, and you can make food and you could eat it with the Duke and all that crap. But I don't like missable things that you can't go back and get. So,
and on the flip side to that, what did you guys think of the other way is that with between Resident Evil 7 and 8, they got rid of the stash. You didn't have a stash anymore. Instead, you had like a big Tetris inventory where you had to like, which I think is also similar to Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, it's almost exactly the same.
You had to purchase more space almost immediately. Like if you didn't buy that, like anytime I saw the trunk come up, I was like, I have to buy it. Doesn't matter what else I want. I have to buy this because I don't know if I'll have it later.
I never had a money problem in the game for buying stuff in his inventory, whether it was upgrades for weapons, extra ammo, health, whatever, right? Where I had an issue was the weapon upgrade. I liked how in 7 each gun had a couple upgrades and you just found them around, right? And that was it. I was not a huge fan of more of how expensive individual weapon upgrades were in his little inventory thing. Mostly because I knew there was going to be more better weapons as you go along. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to spend any money on the 9mm that you get right at the start. And then I was like, and then you get that cool revolver later. And I'm like, cool, let me spend some money here. But it's like 50,000 just to upgrade the power by like 5. It's like, I literally.
Yeah, but did you shoot that gun at anything?
I was going to say that gun is
You don't get a lot of ammo, so I got pissed later on in the game, and I just unloaded on some lichens. But, yeah, I was like literally, it would have been nice to know at the start of the game, just pick one gun and invest in that, right? Like, just completely level it up, and then that's probably your go-to weapon throughout the game. So. Like I waited too late and got that really fancy shotgun at the end, and I was rolling in whatever they called it, whatever the money was. I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna get this sweet shotgun and we're gonna level it up. And I got like 2 upgrades. I'm like, shit, because they're all like 70K whatever, upgrade one.
I upgraded everything except that Wolfsbane Magnum. I didn't have enough money to get the very last one, and then I forgot to do it at the end of the game. Because I had enough money after the, like, we'll get into the, like, when you switch characters part. I had enough money after that to do it, but I just walked away and, went to go fight the big bad end, which I used every single round, that Magnum there. I didn't use it until the very end of the game.
But I mean, to your point, I like the Duke, and I liked being able to top off your inventory sometimes, especially after the big boss fights. I seem to be like Mike, you were talking like, oh, you went into Lady D with like 80 rounds. Like there was a ton of times where I'm like, yep, I got 60 rounds of pistol, I got 30 rounds of shotgun, I got 50 25 rounds of sniper, let's go do this. And then after a boss battle it'd be like, I barely have anything left. So
yeah, but they did a good job loading you up before some of those fights too. I think it was
after the second battle
is kind of helpful too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they kept the crafting in, but yeah, the big flip is that they gave you a shop and an inventory in exchange for the traditional storage
batch. Yeah.
Yep.
I never had a problem with my inventory. Once I got once I got the 1911, I was like, okay, I just sold the night, and you can buy stuff back if you want.
Yeah.
No,
I slowly upgraded everything and kept everything in my inventory. So there was a few times where I went to go pick something up and it was like, you need to make space. And I was like, son of a bitch.
You kept all your weapons?
All the way through, yeah.
Jeez.
I kept all mine too. I think I had, in my inventory, I know I had the sniper, the Wolfsbane. I didn't use the 1911. I opted to use the pistol. Yeah, the Lemmy, the one that the pistol that you start with. Yep. I had the grenade launcher in there. I had, I sold the other shotgun when I got the new shotgun. So, yeah, I had a lot of weapons.
I had so many explosive rounds.
Those came in handy.
Yes, they did.
Very handy.
I went fishing with that gun. I just threw that out there.
Of course.
A lot of the explosives honestly helped me.
No, Chris, like a big fish. not the little ones.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
The explosives honestly helped me in pretty much in the last, let's see, the Moreau battle and the Miranda battle. It was just like,
Yeah.
it was real quick with those things.
Heisenberg's factory, I used a lot of grenades too.
I just
Yep.
burned through so much
Those-
ammo in that damn place.
Those
Yeah, I did
cyber
too.
bullies, like those friggin' tanked out,
Yeah.
like I was like, I'm not gonna put that many bullets into you to bring you down. I'm just gonna hit you with a grenade launcher, and then I'll just shoot you with a pistol. We're done.
But moving on from now that we kind of touched on a little bit of the bosses already, but going into this segment of the game, basically boss 2.
Chris's favorite.
Honestly,
Oh my God.
my favorite. This is probably my favorite part of the game.
It is. Yeah. I would easily.
I had
say
so
this
much
is-
fun here.
I
It is-
was utterly terrified, but
This
it
has
was
gotta be-
amazing.
Yeah, this has got to be like the scariest. Like the last segment was probably the most like Resident Evil from a gameplay standpoint. This is by far the most like scariest part of the game, I would say.
Yeah.
And that's getting to the house Beneviento. So you got the you meet her as like the little doll. She's like this little like creepy puppet doll
Angie
in a
is
wedding
the,
dress.
puppet. Yeah.
Angie, yeah. Yep. So you make your way from the Duke and you go up this little like creepy passageway with like nice fog, and you see like hallucinations of your wife and kid and all that, and it leads you all the way to this house, and you see the little jar sitting in a chair with a doll sitting next to it. The jar contains the part of your daughter that you're looking for. And so, of course, yeah, when you go and like reach it, it like shuts all the lights off. Lights come back on. You got no guns, no anything, no inventory of any kind. And then you just see like a creepy wooden doll laying on like an operating table in the middle of the room. Oh,
Designed
It
to
looked-
look
I-
like
it
you're
looked
dead.
just like- yeah.
Yeah, like Mia. Yeah.
yeah.
No,
I was
I
waiting
love the
for that
walk.
to get up. I thought it was just
I
gonna
was
be like,
so
"Oh."
worried that's where that was gonna go. I was like, please don't move, please.
Yeah, because you have to sit over it and not just like you have to interact with it a whole
Yeah.
bunch too. You're sitting there and like you have to like pluck off pieces of like arms and like look at them and like move the little eye around to get clues as to like how to.
Well-
It was a completely puzzle solving part of the game.
And
like
and
there
the
was
radio
no combat.
kept going off, so it was
Yeah.
this very like I kept expecting something from her to come up for the doll to stand up, but instead we end up finding the doll at the bottom of a well somehow, and then it comes in the most terrifying thing I've probably ever seen in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
So just the way that they, before we get into that thing,
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
the puzzles with the mannequin, right? The way that they laid that out was really nice. There was
It
a
was
lot of
really
pieces.
well
It was
done.
like you've got to figure out stuff with the mannequin, then you have to go solve with whatever tools you got from the mannequin, and so on and so forth until you can pry like film out of her mouth with like tweezers. Like, what was the only thing I kept thinking about is like, who is this genius who owns this house that did this to you? Like, I understand it's game design. The game designers did it, right?
Yeah.
Very well done. But like, who does this in a house? I was just laughing so hard. I was like, she's probably sitting there like watching Ethan like, oh, do we think he's going to figure out this part? Oh, it'll be great. Like, what kind of weird psycho ass game are you playing with us?
I am we can discuss this in a little bit, but I'm not 100% convinced the doll was ever actually there.
Yeah, I mean I think some of that was a lot of hallucination, I guess you could say. But no, I really like those puzzles, and I think it was the only
super
time
well done.
I was dumb and I got stuck for a couple minutes. Almost went to my Prima guide, Rich. I washed the ring off, but I never examined it. So I was like walking around for like like all around, like where is all this stuff at? And then I was like, hold on a second, kind of going back through my inventory. I'm like, all right, let me inspect this. And lo and behold, there was a code to get out of the door there. But
How did
Yeah,
you
no,
do with the music box?
that one I figured out pretty quickly. That was once I noticed there was
Yeah.
like it stopped and there was all these scratches that didn't line up. I'm like, okay, yep, this one was real easy. So
I think I didn't see a scratch initially, but once I realized that, it was pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
No, I really enjoyed this area. This was so fun. It was the atmosphere and just getting up to the house and then in the house. And then let's just get to it. Like what happens in the house, like as you're solving this puzzle, like there's a lot of messed up stuff in this game, but this was the moment where like I knew something was coming. You knew it because you solve your puzzle and you're going out the door and wasn't there a trail of blood?
Well,
there's like a trail of blood and all the lights went out.
And an umbilical cord in the blood.
And I noticed the
You
cord.
didn't see it?
No.
Oh yeah.
I think the umbilical cord comes a little bit later.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's from where the doll was. The doll of your wife was laying. It goes from there.
Yeah.
But this was the only time, like, again, a lot of messed up stuff in this game, but this was the time where I'm sitting here playing the game and I out loud was like, what the fuck? Like, like you walk around this. Let me also point out, like, I also knew something was coming because you walk into a little side room from your whatever, where you wash the ring and stuff like that. And there was a cabinet
that you could climb into.
And I was like I was like, hold on a second. I walked in there and I realized you could pull it shut. I'm like, I already figured out whatever's coming next. I already figured out what I need to do. Right. And then, you walk around the corner and
it like does the like fingertip grab on the thing and then pulls its face over.
The whole and that's when you start hearing that like mixed with like, you know, baby crying. And like it was creepy as fuck. I'm like, okay. And
that
I literally
is not far off. I'm just gonna throw it out there. That is not far off from like the first couple day crying of a baby. Like,
oh, that's terrifying.
That is so fucking close to what my kids sounded like when they were the first time I held them and they were making noise. It was spot on to like brand new baby.
I felt there was a little bit more torture in there, right?
Oh,
like there was actual kind of, you could hear they recorded a baby, but there was also that demented torture. Somebody messed with the audio to make it sound like, and they overlaid those, and it was just, I sprinted right back to that room. I closed the door and I waited there
so quickly.
I didn't have to run that fast. I'm sure they probably expected people to panic and shoot it and whatever, but I was like, all right. Ran right back to that room. I sat in there.
Shoot it with what?
Yeah, right.
We don't have weapons.
Yeah, all your guns are gone.
All your guns are gone. Yeah.
Yell at it. Call it mean names.
That was like this is gotta be the biggest part that was just like the most nightmare fuel part of the game was just seeing like, and it wasn't even just like a baby, like baby sounds. Like the thing had like a baby's face, but it was like all contorted and like the jaw was dripping real low, and the whole thing was like shaped like a giant like slug kind of a thing.
Like
and
slug fetus thing. Yeah,
like a big slug fetus with a giant like head and face, and like you could see like, and that's when that kind of comes in, is that like when it walks by you can see like the umbilical cord like trailing behind it and all that, and it's just like, it was one of those times where I'm just like, oh god, like this is actually kind of hard to look at. Like this is unnerving.
I have a picture I'll have to send you guys after this. Because I got like, as you figure out your puzzle and you get back in the elevator, which was probably the scariest part for me.
Oh yeah.
Of the whole thing, because I was like, okay, this is messed up, and I'm running around.
Go.
But not once did I feel like I was in danger until I do the power. I run in the next room, it pulled, kited into the room, and I run out. I hit the door, and it's just slow to open up. And I get in there, and it's really slow. I'm like, oh, I'm fucked. And it just, like, it was probably 2/3 of the way shut, and the baby's just right there.
I think that's scripted to get there.
Probably.
Because it's the same spot for me, yeah.
That was the only time where I'm like, okay, maybe I did something wrong. I'm going to die here. But...
Did anyone get eaten?
No.
I for the sake of science, I did load up a save and allowed myself to get grabbed by the baby. Yeah, it just shoves you in its mouth, and it's so creepy.
I don't want to go back to that. Oh,
Oh, that's
So fun.
man.
It is so tough to watch. I'm honestly like, I want to put it into this, but I'm really debating whether or not I should because it's so disturbing.
I was gonna post it.
Yeah,
I was gonna post.
I don't want us to get flagged for it.
Let's make
I
that the
was gonna-
title image.
Oh,
The thumbnail for this.
I was gonna post it
Oh,
on
man.
Instagram, and I was like, one, it's messed up. Two, I don't want to spoil that moment for people.
that's
Obviously, if you're
true.
listening to this, you'll probably go look it up, or you're the kind of person that watches people
Just
play
go
through
play it
games,
for the love
right?
of God.
Whatever, right? Don't care about spoilers, but I didn't want, if somebody that wants to play this game, I want them to experience that without me posting a picture of it online. So
And that's not even the end of the
No.
segment
messed
either.
up, yeah.
No.
I mean, like, this is probably one of the more shorter segments of the game, but like, it was really, really
It
good.
leaves
was
you
yeah.
shook.
this was
Yeah.
this was one of my favorites, but yet was the shortest of the three, I guess, four bosses or whatever. Or
Mhm.
sorry, four.
I was-
fifth boss, and then Miranda.
Super disappointed with how short that section was. Like, with what happens next, I was like, that was it? Really? Like, all right, I guess I'll go now. Like,
I
little
wanted
sad
it to
about
be
it.
longer because I liked it so much, but yeah. So the next part, yeah. So you're coming up the elevator, and by now, Angie and like she's got an army of dolls. Which, by the way, they're sprinkled around the house already, but now they're like everywhere. They're just everywhere, and
did
there
you
was
see
like
the ones that were like glitching out? They were like,
Yeah.
Oh, they were all doing it. Yeah.
What? And there was like a haze, right? I kind of felt like you were drugged or like hallucinating or something like that. And that's when you meet. Was that Miranda or no? Was it Donna that showed up? Or
Yeah,
Miranda,
it's-
I don't remember.
It's Lady Beneviento. I can't honestly
Yeah.
remember what
Donna.
her first
It
name
was.
is.
Yeah.
I
Is it
think
Donna?
it was Donna. Yeah.
Donna.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you meet her and oh,
And you have to play hide and seek with Angie.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
And that's
stab
like
her.
yeah, and it's even more creepy because you're roaming around. So you basically have to you can hear Angie laughing at you and all this sort of stuff. So you have to navigate through the remainder of the house. And you have all these dolls scattered about the house, and they're all like kind of twitching and contorting and things like that as you're kind of roaming through this. And then occasionally, I think it's if you take too long to find Angie, you will have dolls that will pop up and they'll just start stabbing you.
oh really?
I didn't get that far.
I was really
Yep.
good at hide and seek, so I
Yeah.
found that.
So
Pretty
apparently,
quick.
yeah, if you just take too long, they will start hurting you and they will start like attacking you and things like that. So
Yikes.
that one
man.
kind of lights a little fire under your ass to like when that happened the first time, because I wasn't sure what was going on. And so I'm roaming around the house and I'm kind of like looking for Angie, sort of, but I'm just trying to figure out like, okay, is she just in like a room and I have to just go attack her, or like what do I got to do? And then all of a sudden, like a bunch of dolls just jumped up and started stabbing me, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? I like almost jumped out of my seat because it just scared the crap out of me. But yeah,
I didn't realize that was a timed thing because it happened to me twice, and both times it was when I found Angie. So I thought it was like part of her.
Mm-mm. Yeah,
Mm.
it's all
thing,
time
but-
based.
Yeah, okay.
You have kids. I thought you'd be great at hide and seek, Mike.
So with this game in particular, I had to play it at super late hours
Yeah.
of the night just because, like, I don't want to show my kids that creepy fetus slug.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So I was so exhausted by the end of this, anyways, that I wasn't running. I was walking through the house, like, just stalking with my pair of scissors, like, where are you?
I'm coming to get you, Angie.
And I wasn't even sure if like she's gonna be on the first floor or the second floor. Like, where is she gonna be?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, you find her, and then you brutally just take your scissors that you found and just stab her in the skull. And then once you kill her, you kind of stop hallucinating. You find out you've destroyed the doll, but you were also basically just stabbing Donna, who
Yeah.
I was
So
a
I
little
was-
disappointed that you don't get to fight the fetus, like the fetus monster.
I'm
I was a
glad
little
never
sad
gets to
about
see it
that.
again.
once you got all your weapons back, did you try to go to the elevator and go back down?
No,
Yeah, I didn't even think about
Maybe
it.
you could. Maybe you could. I
I'm
didn't do that.
assuming that it was also an illusion.
That's what
Probably.
my guess is. Yeah. Because it's all
Um,
way too specific to Ethan. So
Yes. Yep. I was watching the like 2 days prior to playing that level. I was watching the new Chucky on Sci-Fi, just in between time when I had some open space to, just do some other stuff and have that on the background. So it's super creepy going into doll land and seeing like all these dolls that are trying to kill you. And I was like, man, I gotta stop watching horror stuff because now Chucky's in my brain and I'm just waiting for me to get stabbed by it. And then that doll thing pops up and just starts stabbing at you. It's a good time.
But yeah, and that's basically how the segment ends.
Mhm.
So you
You
stab
walk
the
away.
doll, and then it does
was
just all
so
kind of
short.
over.
Mhm.
Yep. Then it's just over. Then you go to the next section of the game.
My least favorite section of the game is this next one.
Probably.
So you move on from there into like a swampy area,
Real
like
quick,
a miney swampy area. But Matt, go ahead.
as I say, real quick, we mentioned that like in between this, the village is kind of we'll call it hub world, right? So
Yeah.
there are little
Mhm.
activities and things you can explore and find,
Yep.
piece together. So like in between these sections, if you're an explorer and you do that stuff, there's stuff to do
Yeah,
there.
you're finding keys that
Because
unlock
more and
different
more
places.
stuff also opens
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
There are certain sections of the town you can't get to, or treasures are put on your map and you can
Yep.
go find them. But anyways,
Mhm.
so this next here,
So after you go look for whatever treasures, you go to like this mine shaft area that leads you into a swampy kind of gross area. But you almost immediately get your phylactery of Rose, which is Ethan's daughter, right away. And then the guy who I don't know if you guys caught, the whole Dr. Moreau
Yeah.
thing,
Yep.
working on things, making creepy animals. You kind of find out that he's the one building out these lichens or trying to build out a group of lichens and mutate those. So it's kind of cool, little Moreau reference. But then he starts talking to Ethan. And I don't know why, but Ethan starts talking back. You have baby part number 3. You just go. You don't sit there and wait for it. You just
'Cause
go.
Ethan's feeling
video
cocky.
video game, you know.
It's,
No, he just killed Lady D and Lady B. So
Yeah. What's this little
Just-
gross little booger guy gonna do to him?
And you gotta feel bad for Mr. Moreau a little bit, right? He's kind of the outcast. Everybody else
He's
hates
very
him and
sad.
doesn't like him. So right,
Super
Ethan was just
whiny.
trying to
It's
be
true.
friendly.
I'm just going to creep over and talk to you and then say,
Yep.
ha
And uses
so he kinda-
boogers.
Yeah, he uses his gross, like, green goop to lock you into the area. And then you've got to go, work your way through, like, a swampland and a bunch of, what were those? Windmills
Yeah.
to try and, find your way out. At a certain point, you run into Chris Redfield's party. And you get a little bit more information as to what's going on. Things happen, and then you're almost immediately separated. So it's just a little shortcut scene that gets you some more Chris Redfield time. And I think this is the first time you see Redfield since he
Yeah.
destroyed
Yeah.
Mia.
You
So
do at one point you do kind of get an inkling. So when you're first roaming through the village, you find that little church area that's like your first save spot.
Yeah.
When
Yep.
if you go back later, there's now like lab equipment set up in
Yep.
there, like because his team had gone in and dropped some stuff off.
there's like a laptop and
yeah.
all sorts of cool stuff in there.
Yeah.
Cool
There's a
tech
couple.
stuff.
There's a couple places if you do more of the exploring in the village that you run into. Oh, somebody was
Yeah.
here.
But this is
Right.
your first chance to actually say, "Oh, hey, how's it going, man?
You killed
Yep.
my wife.
Remember when you shot up my
So
wife?"
you ask him a bunch of questions. He basically tells you to just go home, which I don't know how you're going to do that, but essentially go home. He'll handle it and not to get into their business. Then
And-
I don't know. Like, I didn't understand what was going on with Chris. I thought he was a bad guy. I was like, okay, what did they do to this story? Did they just mutilate the idea that Chris is now a bad guy until he pushes you out of the way of our next villain here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean your swampy town. I mean, that was the reason it was all swampy is because Moreau needed a place to swim because he couldn't control the fact that he turns into this weird giant fish monster. So it's just this drowned town, which, again, we talked about earlier, but like this engine is and the designers, the artists, just some of the coolest views in the game. This was just so cool seeing it both flooded and whenever you actually let the water down and then go chase down weird fish Moreau, because you got to like sneak through all these drowned houses and going around rooftops solving puzzles to turn the power on for the dam or whatever, right?
Yeah, so you
To let
can
the water
lower
down.
The water, yeah.
Yep.
The whole time the Moreau fish dude's trying to knock you off or eat you, or which I did fall in one time because I mistimed running across.
I did the same thing.
So he came across, perpendicular, knocked me into the water. I'm like, oh, I gotta get back, but no, and he just eats you.
I got it on those platforms where you had to like throw the switches.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I wasn't 100% sure how they worked at first, so I just stepped onto the first one, and then I couldn't go anywhere. And I was like, oh, did I miss something? Like, so I'm like looking around to see if there's a button near me, and then I just went under. I was like, oh, okay. I probably should have taken the other direction,
Mhm.
But basically, it's just an obstacle course. There's nothing like
Yeah.
super interesting or special about this segment of the game, other than you run around, throw some switches, basically navigate from one side of the area to the other side of the area until you get to the boss fight. You don't even really fight that many things either.
Nope.
I think there's just
No,
like
not
a
really.
like a small handful of lichens at
And that
like
was-
the very beginning, but
I thought was kind of an okay break, honestly, for House Beneviento. And this was I guess early in this level, you could run into some lichens and either sneak by them or shoot them, right? But like, it wasn't combat heavy. It was all more puzzle. And in this case, in the drowned houses, platform based,
Mhm.
figuring out, they weren't hard, but figuring out a few puzzles and not getting eaten by it. So I thought it was kind of honestly a nice little break from, running around the house, killing weird monsters or the next couple levels, some, the lichens and weird robot things. But
I thought the boss fight for Moreau was actually kind of fun. Like that was actually, it wasn't too bad. Like it wasn't super interesting, but it was not a bad fight.
This was probably the only time, or sorry, first time that I got a little annoyed that it was actually kind of first person. Cause like, okay, you let the water down. He's like this weird, like fish thingy that comes down and chases you through
It's like a
through
frog.
the houses. Yeah. And I was like, okay, perfect place to use the mine. So I'd run. I thought really far ahead. I'd drop a mine and I'd like run away from the mine and turn around. And he's like right there, like right on me. Now, luckily, usually I was outside of the mine blast, but it was just like, yeah. I again, I always would just run, plant a mine, and he's still right on my ass. I'm like, doesn't
And he
matter
was
how many
pretty
times
fast.
didn't matter how many corners and trying to break his line of sight. But it was the first time where I was like, this is kind of hard trying to navigate, shooting him but running away. And then the acid rain came. That took me a minute. Spent a little too much time in there.
Yeah, I almost succumbed to the acid rain too, but
Hmm.
the fight was pretty easy at that point for me. Again, I played on casual, for one. For two, I had so many grenades for that grenade launcher because I just didn't use it. So I just was just pumping, grenade, switch to the pistol, unload on him, and keep swapping back and forth.
Hmm. Yeah, this was the first boss that I really unloaded a lot of my explosive rounds of the grenade launcher and the mines.
Same.
Yep. I did get
then, yeah.
behind him a few times and unloaded on him with the shotgun. That was fun.
Well, that was usually my thing, was plant the mine, run a little bit, switch my shotgun, turn around, because it stunned him for a few seconds, so I could run up to him, pew pew pew, run away. Yeah. Run away.
How did you guys do on that light up puzzle for the switches?
I saw that even before I went and got the power
the
on.
fact that it was flipped on the side
That it
or
was
whatever.
rotated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, there's a little switch of the actual whatever panel.
Yeah.
There was a little switch, and I looked at the paper, and it was a little mark in one. I'm like, oh, okay, just gotta go turn the power on. I know what.
It's
I don't think
it's a classic Resident Evil
Yeah.
trope to give you the key, but then rotate it slightly.
Yeah.
Just a teeny addition to the puzzle, and
Yep.
those are sometimes can go really unnoticed. So I really enjoyed that little piece to it. Like, hey, check it out. Like, we're not just gonna give it to you. We're gonna mess with you,
Yeah.
just a smidge.
It was like, sorry, Chris.
Oh, I was gonna say I did start it briefly, like going through it, and then I'm like, oh god damn it, and then I had to redo a couple of like a row because I realized my mistake.
To me, it was like the music box, right? Because that it's right there, and you see scratches that literally don't line up, and it's like
Mhm.
like once you see it, it's super, it's like, okay.
So
Just
how
like
did
rotate the
that
page.
go? How did that go for you in the piano? In the first one where you had to play
lot
the
of trial and error.
I'll be honest. I actually pulled up a on Google the bar graph so I could remember like the keys, and then I realized once you press one, it highlights it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't press it right away. I was like, oh, I feel dumb. So then it was like, okay, there's middle C. Okay, this is easy.
Yeah, I just had to figure out where it started, and once you figured that out, it's like, oh, okay, then it's a half clef, and oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I
So
got
now-
the first key like right away. I was like, ding, okay, and then just do the rest. But yeah, go ahead, Rich.
Oh yeah. So once you finish up Moreau's
Moreau's place.
Moreau's. I think that's when you get to the Stronghold is the next part. I mean, you get in contact with you get back in contact with Heisenberg, and he tells you that he wants to like make a deal or something with you.
He wants to be buddies.
Yeah, he wants to be besties with Ethan now. Now that he's killed 3 out of the 4 lords. And so yeah, you have to make your way through like you have all your pieces to your key now. You get to unlock a new piece of the village. You go through this nice like stone bridge or whatever, and then you get to like this big castle that has like a ton of lichen in it.
Did you like this was where Heisenberg built all these signs around the village, like go this
so
way.
dramatic.
I was like, how? How did he have the time to do this? Like in the
Contorted
fight?
metal.
Yeah, just did his little
Magneto
And then I
powers.
remembered.
Magneto
I
stuff.
remembered he could Magneto the things in. I was like,
Yeah.
well, that's so.
This was probably my least favorite section, just because I was over fighting the lichens, and they throw so many of
There's
you
a
at you,
ton.
and like once you kind of get into the stronghold and you're going down, and there was I forget a big multi-leveled room, and you have to make it to the very top. That's when I was like, after this, I pulled out my sweet ass revolver at that point, which was probably the best time to use it because it's basically one hit kill on
Wolfbane.
lichens.
Yeah.
Wolfbane. I'm just like pew pew pew, and just unloaded on those fools. Yeah, I was so over fighting lichens at that point.
I went into like the Doom music kicked in at that
Yep.
point.
Yep.
I was
That's how
just
I felt too.
I was like, oh, fucking bring it.
Yep.
And I just went in there with a shotgun. It was like,
Yep.
That's
blowing
exactly what I
faces
did.
off. Yep.
Yep, that's exactly what I did too. It was a mixture of the sniper rifle and the shotgun, just
Occasional pipe bomb, just a whoop. There's a group of you.
Yep.
mines and all that good stuff. You just like
That's actually where I got the achievement for killing 3 with 1 bullet.
Oh,
Is
nice.
I like on the way unlocking the gate that comes down or whatever. You have to pull the 2 switches on the sides to get in there. As they were all like jumping down on the platform, I shot a barrel, and like 6 of them exploded. And I was like, oh, achievement. That whole area was pretty neat. I liked that level again because it felt really good after playing the fish level, like the swamp area that was all slow and puzzly, and I love that part of it. But it was just nice to go in and just murder things,
Yeah.
like just to unload. Like I don't know if you guys remember playing, and Matt, this might not resonate for you. The other Resident Evil games, like the older ones, when you finally got like a weapon that was just badass, you had a ton of ammo, and they threw a bunch of stuff at you, and you were able to just tear them down. That was just so much fun, old school Resident Evil, because you usually, like the way Matt played this one, you had to conserve your ammo. You had to be smart about it. You couldn't just shoot everything. You had to play Barry Sanders and run around some stuff, right? So getting some of these levels where you can just, like, all of the frustration and all of the buildup from like the last 3 areas, you can just go and take it out on all these guys. I really enjoyed it.
Yep. And at the end of that, that's when you fight the big dude with the giant warhammer thing,
Urias.
Yeah.
Did you-
Urias. And then that is when I busted out Wolfsbane for
Yeah.
me. That's when I drained my Wolfsbane ammo, and that's when I was just like in Discord, holy shit, this Magnum slaps.
Yep.
Because he dropped fast with that
Did he?
Magnum.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. It was
I should have
awesome.
saved it.
I think
Yeah.
I think I had 2 rounds by that point or something like that. So I unloaded a lot of my grenade launcher and pipe bombs at him.
I think I used the
Mhm.
rest of my explosive rounds on Urias.
Did anybody use flashbangs?
Accidentally a couple of times.
Okay.
I found I used one once and it flashbanged me.
Oh yeah,
which
yeah,
I mean
that's
makes
exactly
sense,
what
but
happened.
I'm like, and obviously I conserving my ammo, so I always tried using them on bosses, and obviously, you know, those usually mechanics like that don't work on bosses typically, right? So I tried it on Miranda too when I fought her. I was like, flashbang, look away. All right. Oh, you're not stunned anymore? Okay, whatever. So never really used them. I think I ended the game with like 10 of them.
I sold all of my
Yeah.
flashbangs every time I'd get them, but the same thing with the Uriah fight. I just used the grenade launcher, just thump, 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 and then pistol as much as I could as well. Not the revolver.
Which is good
Yep.
because then you get to like, you know.
I think this is where when you're walking out of this area after grabbing, what was it you grabbed from him?
You had the last.
Yeah, you got your last flask.
phylactery.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's when you run through a section that, again, from start of the game when you were being chased out. That's why I think that Stronghold was.
Oh,
was
are you talking about when you kind of could scoot by and you see them where they're like feeding and everything?
No, so once you go through that door after beating your eyes, you go down through some stuff.
Like a
you grab
crystal cave and
Again,
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
the
it's only
crystal
I think
cave.
it's only kind of like one room that you walk through that you ran through previously. But again, I don't know. We could look it up on the internet. But
By now you have all four of your baby parts,
Yep.
and so you can use
you
that.
can build a baby.
mhm.
Yeah. You use that, and yeah, it's weird. You put them in like these four like stone slots, like it's like the fifth element or something like that, and then it just like unlocks like a big bridge over to the factory that you need to go to meet Heisenberg.
Mhm.
I still want to know how Ethan was able to carry that giant. What do they call it? The giant chalice.
Yep, the giant's chalice. I was
Yep.
like, where'd you put that one, buddy?
Right? Because yeah, you grab it and then he immediately just pulls out his gun again and starts walking. I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, no,
Yeah.
no.
That thing was as tall as your chest, bro.
But I mean, if you
Just put it
think
in the
was,
backpack.
obviously that was bigger than, yeah, I don't know. He was carrying around the crystallized remains of a lot of the monsters, which were
That's
probably
true.
as big,
Yeah,
or
we didn't
especially
mention that.
Uriah's, right? Because Uriah's was not only crystallized like part of Uriah's body,
It was
but
like
also his
15
hammer.
feet tall and the
Yeah.
hammer, yeah.
So like, yeah. So again, video games, you
Yeah,
just don't think about
game
that.
logic.
But Yeah.
Suspension of disbelief.
Mhm.
then you get to the level or area or whatever you want to call this, where like, I just wanted to get through it. I didn't hate it, but I
did
was
not
just
like it.
you were talking about those weird robot things. Well, let's start here. So like, you get up there and you actually Heisenberg wants to talk to you. He wants to be
Right.
Rose.
This is his factory. Like, this is his.
Yep.
So you learn as you go that each one of these different, like, lords was chosen by Miranda to, like, do experiments. I mean, there's more to it, which we'll get to later. But at this point, they're all just trying to impress Miranda with what they can do with this gunk that they're putting into different people, right?
Is
So-
that, I
And-
can't remember. You learn what this is called pretty early on in the game. It's like
Kadao or
Kaidu.
something.
Kaidu.
Yeah, and that's where I think the four lords are people like, they survived having this Kadu stuff.
Yeah.
But they didn't. That's where they didn't turn into Lycans or die. Right.
Yeah.
They
You
were
learn
they
about
came out with
this-
superpowers. In this case, he turned into Magneto. Moreau turned
Heisenberg
into-
was like extra angry about like just having it done to him too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that whole
then-
she ruined my life. I want to actually kill her. So he's building
He's
this
the
weird
most
army.
normal looking one of the four.
Yeah, I know, right?
Just a big old
Yep.
baby.
But you learn that he's essentially building an army. He's building an army to go and fight
Urukai.
Miranda.
Huge one. Yeah.
Yeah. He's using his factory to just create a bunch of like these like machine, like half human, half machine sort of things. I don't remember, was he using the Kaidu for those experiments, or was he using something? Was it the
It was the
Metamice
little
suit that he was
reactor
using?
thing that he was putting in them that had part Kaidu in it.
Yep.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. And so yeah, it just basically makes them like mind slaves, so to
Mhm.
speak.
Mhm.
And he gets to control all of them and what they do. But yeah, you have this conversation with Heisenberg, and he kind of explains all this stuff and basically says, ally with me, we'll kill Miranda, we'll go our separate ways, yada yada. and Ethan basically just gives him a giant middle finger.
What's
and
left of it.
What's left of it.
Did you guys know as soon as he opened that grate to scream at whatever was down there that you were going in that hole?
Yeah, I
assumed
knew.
as
Yeah.
much.
I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
well, he opened the
like,
Rancor
dude.
pit. Cool.
Yep.
Now-
I was like,
Yeah.
dude, don't sit in that chair. Don't sit
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
chair.
you're right next to the hole, dude.
It was one of those moments. It's a big reason why I don't watch like horror movies, because you're sitting there going like yelling at the screen like, don't do that. Like no sane person would do that. So me, I'm just sitting here going, don't sit in that chair. You're obviously gonna say stuff he doesn't like. He's gonna kick you down in the Rancor pit. I'm sorry, the Stern pit.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, this is where we get introduced to Chris.
Yep. The Chris
Nice.
boss.
This monster called Sturm that has a big helicopter blade for a face.
Yep. He's got an engine for a body.
Yeah.
Was
And
it
he-
like a plane engine attached to
Yeah,
it?
an
Yeah.
old
Yeah, and then-
prop
yeah.
engine. And he chopped off his arms accidentally.
I like-
Accidentally.
I liked reading that little bit. They're like,
Yep.
yeah, we put it on there for like, what was it, like no reason, and he's so stupid that he just, chopped off his own arms. They're like, well, whatever.
Yeah, it was tough to read that document and be like, yeah, no, I'd probably do that. I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
You'd accidentally at some point get
Oh,
your
yeah.
arm in it. Because you'd be like
Absolutely, I
doing
would.
something, you have like an itch and you'd be like,
Yep.
"Drown."
Damn it. Try the other arm.
So-
No. Oh.
So Sturm chases you through, and that's kind of when you get introduced to like, yeah, the puzzly side of piecing
That was,
together
like,
and getting out of this factory.
Multiple Star Wars references in a row because like you get kicked in the Rancor pit and then you got to run and then jump in a trash chute, right?
Yeah.
And then you're in like the compactor. It's like, good job, Capcom. I liked your Star Wars.
hmm
I just
Yep.
didn't like this area.
See, this was like the one other area that I thought was also very like Resident Evil feeling.
Yep.
There was also a lot of like running around, collecting
Yeah.
things, like
And
fighting off
backtracking.
monsters, and it's very like, in very atypical Resident Evil fashion, kind of ends in sort of a sciencey laboratory sort of
Yeah.
setting.
Yep.
This basically just hit the nail on the head right there. Wasn't my favorite part because there was a lot of the enemies that I just really just hated dealing with. But
Well, and
I
there's only
bury
one
Sanders around like
Yeah.
so many
oh,
of them.
Yeah.
Once I found out it took so long and the best way to hit them was in the little red thing in their chest, I was like, no. Most of the levels luckily were designed that there was multiple kind of ways you could kite them around and to get whatever you needed done. But I liked not my favorite level or area, whatever. But I liked how, if you notice, the further you saw puzzles and went along, you learn more about these weird monsters, and they were getting like the first one is just like some weird messed up dude, and he's got like a drill arm
Yeah.
thing, right?
He was
But
ready
as
to
you go,
screw you.
there's more. They put this on him, we put jetpacks on him, we put right, and then like all of a sudden, I liked at the very end where like you go back through a tunnel. Like for me, you'd been through like 2 or 3 times before, but the lights are off this time, and kind of not as it wasn't as creepy, but kind of like the baby thing in the Beneviento house, like this big like tanky, old school Iron Man, like his original piece of armor thing walks around the corner, and you're just in a tiny room. I'm like, oh, I squeezed into a corner. He got really close, and I just ran right around him. and again, the thing that stuck there was like at the end of the hallway, there was another one there. Lights turned on, it was like all red lights, and it was like, I was like, damn, yeah.
hmm But basically, throughout this go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just say for those guys, I pipe bomb.
Yeah.
I was like, I just threw it at his toes. I was like, eat that.
Yeah.
I somehow got around all the big guys. I didn't kill one of them. I was just like, again, at that point, I think it was right around the thruster pack bros. I hated those guys.
Oh God, I hated
and then
that part.
that was also another one of those sections where I'm like, God damn, Ethan can't catch a break, because if you get caught by one of them, they just like drill into your chest, and it's a long animation. And like the first time it happened, I thought it was, was gonna die and
It's
have to
just
restart.
Instant kill.
Yeah, I thought, but it was just like, I'm just like, man can't catch a break. It was kind of like, when Lady D just stabs you, or it was, good times. Not for
But
Ethan, though.
basically, throughout this, similar situation, right? Like you're basically trying to get to the top floor of the factory. You're trying to get out of the factory, and once you hit the top floor, that's kind of when you get not necessarily a plot twist, but like you get to see Chris again. Throughout most of this, I don't think there is a whole lot that you end up learning inside the factory anyway, other than maybe a little bit more about what these machine people
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
I think that's all it really was. Yeah.
Yeah, but you do get to do the mini boss fight, which is kind of fun, and then you get to see Chris Redfield again. And just for you guys, I decided to save this because I thought that the note was really funny that describes the Sturm. I'm posting it in Discord right now.
Oh,
It's
no.
I feel like you just got to read it.
All right, it says prototype Sturm used a cheap turboprop engine, but he's impossible to control. All he does is charge too much power output from the reactor, completely invincible head on. But the dumbass managed to chop his own damn arms off on the propeller. Also issues with overheating from running for long periods of time. Conclusion, a complete failure.
Yeah.
I took it personally.
I love that note. Yeah.
I thought
He had
that
a
was
lot
just
of
funny.
he had a lot of those little notes, like
Mhm.
Mhm.
like failure. And then I think it was the Jetpack Boys were like his like most. He's like, yeah, I kept most of their ability to fly. Like they're sort of okay. That's pretty good.
Yep. So then once you do the little battle with the Sturm bot, then then you meet Chris for the next time, which is
Yeah.
by far one of the most, and then you get to go to like one of the most ridiculous boss fights
That was
I've ever
so
seen
weird.
in
I
a
enjoyed
Resident
this
Evil
one.
game.
It was
So-
enjoyed this
fun,
one.
but it was
That-
weird.
It was weird. Yeah.
That Chris Redfield bit, you learn kind of everything, right?
Yep.
I believe that's where Chris tells you, and big spoiler at this point. So if you have listened to all this and you're like, oh, I really got to play this game, maybe hold on because this is going to be a very large spoiler.
Yeah.
So Ethan basically finds out that Mia in his house that was shot down was actually Miranda, and Miranda can change what she looks like at whim, and was pretending to be Mia, somehow had infiltrated the family, and had Mia locked up somewhere, which
Well,
you find out later.
We
You don't
I was
know
gonna say
that-
we didn't know that she was still alive.
We
at
didn't.
that
Yeah. At
point.
this time, we didn't know. But yeah.
As far as we know, Miranda did whatever with Mia.
Yeah.
So you get all these revelations about what happened, and Ethan's like, "Why the fuck didn't you tell me this? Like, you could have saved so much of this garbage. You just told me." He's like, "Well, no, because I knew you're gonna do exactly what you're doing now, but now we're here, so you're gonna have to help me out." The whole time he's just telling you to back out and stay out of their business, and you need to quit and like stop. But this time he like gives you the keys to like this makeshift destruction vehicle, and it's just like, try not to make too much noise. Like,
What was the
He's basically
excuse
like-
too? It's mostly polymer, or something like it's
Yeah.
not metal, so
Yeah.
you can fight him because it's not going to go all Magneto on it. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Even though the thing has like a giant chainsaw on the front
Yeah.
of it.
yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It's fine.
Yeah, I
I
shook my
could've-
head. I was like, whatever.
I could have taken that boss fight 7 different times. Like, I enjoyed the heck out of like
Yeah.
blocking the giant like what was his name? Heisenberg mech.
Heisenberg. Yeah.
When he basically turns into like a mech. Like you drive this tank out, you get out there, Heisenberg's pissed. You've like ruined some of his factory. You're taking away his minions, and he turns this giant like mech and he tries to kill you, and you just basically fight him off with this rudimentary tank. All up to a certain point. I mean, having that block button be your chainsaw was awesome because it felt like, okay, I can actually block with this thing instead of like Ethan hands being like, no.
We haven't mentioned the block yet. Normally, outside of this machine, I was really bad with timing, and I
Oh yeah.
barely ever used it. But this was the only time where I was able to block, but I don't think you had the timing. It was just if you held it up.
Yep.
And he came in, but yeah.
Well,
But-
and this gives us while you're fighting, Redfield's planting bombs, so then they blow up the whole warehouse, and Heisenberg gives probably one of my favorite lines in the whole game. That boulder punching
The boulder.
son of a bitch. And it just, I lost it right there. A great reference to Resident Evil 5 and one of the weirdest scenes I've ever seen.
Yep. He refers to Chris as a boulder punching son of a bitch.
That's great. That's glorious.
I'm laughing because I don't know what the reference
Oh.
is.
So in
Oh,
5,
You don't have to explain it. It's in 5.
Oh,
Yeah,
we can.
call
Yeah.
back.
So no, I mean, not
it's
only
quick.
It
yeah,
is
not
super
only
quick.
is it in Resident Evil 5, it's like one of the biggest Resident Evil memes out there. Like this is like one of the
ridiculous.
This is like Jill Sandwich levels of like Resident Evil memes. So basically in Resident Evil 5, towards the end of the game, you're Chris Redfield, you're going through this whole bit where you're doing a bunch of quick time events. And one of the quick time events is that there's a giant fucking rock sitting in front of you and a pit of lava. And what does he do? You mash A to save your life. And what he does is he just sits and punches a boulder and knocks it into the lava so that he can cross the lava or whatever.
It's pretty great.
It's so stupid, but yeah. Apparently Chris can punch boulders.
Yeah.
So a quick question. Did you guys get the achievement for sniping a body way out in the distance?
No.
Oh, no.
In the factory.
I found out about it later, and I wish I caught it.
So just bored waiting for like the elevator to come up with the Duke, I turned around. I was like, I wonder if I can shoot those. Because if you shot the little dudes in like the rooms, little blood spurts would come off of them and whatever else if they were an actual guy that would get up. Any of the other ones not. So I was like, I wonder if anything's going to happen with these. So I aim out and I took like 8 shots, popped one of them off the hook way out in the distance, and it popped up with the achievement just hanging around. I was like, yes.
Nice.
So
I didn't know about
cool.
that. That's funny.
I think I thought about it, but I was like, no, I don't want to use the ammo.
Right. The other one that I found out later is an achievement because my brother spoiled it for me. Is I was just opening every toilet door, like every porta potty. I was looking for stuff, but then I thought to myself, like, I should just open all of these things.
I might have gotten that one.
That one I didn't get
because
either.
I thought it was fun that there were so many outhouses in the game that you raided and always had something in there for you. But I think I got that one too.
Always some kind of treasure in the pooper.
So we beat Heisenberg, and that's when we get to just. It was the last time where I'm like, okay, like Ethan's done. You meet Mother Miranda. That's when she shows you off the what they call it, mimicry.
Yeah.
I think in the game.
Yeah, the metamycete.
Yep.
No, her ability to mimic.
Her transformation
right.
capability.
Yeah.
She turned into a treasure chest with teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost got Chris.
Yes,
but
you did.
Like with everything that's happened to Ethan, even when she reached her hand in and Kalima style ripped out your heart and you're like, Kalima.
I said that out loud.
I did too.
Oh my god.
I was like, okay, this isn't over. I mean, he's gotten through worse, right? Probably not worse than getting your heart ripped out.
I mean, that's
but
a little bit high on the list, but yeah.
Yeah. Mother Miranda just kind of shows up. She has a conversation with Ethan. Ethan's talking shit to her. She rips his heart out. And not only that, she like squeezes it and like crushes it in front of him and like sprays the blood all over her face. And then Ethan just kind of like falls over.
Can you imagine after Biohazard and then 90% of Village, can you imagine like the confidence that Ethan has? Like it's just big dick energy. Like, fuck it. I don't care. Like with Heisenberg, he's like, he probably sat down in that chair and was like, I know you're going to kick me in. I'm going to come find you. Go ahead. Why don't you kick me in? Let's just get the show on the road. We both know what's going to happen. And he comes through and blows him away, right? Like, dude has to be just the most confident MFer on the planet at this point. So walking up to somebody with Miranda's powers, you have to expect him to still have that same Ethan attitude. Like, what are you going to do to me, lady? Like, what else can you possibly do?
Well, that's what she does.
Yeah,
she rips his heart out. Yep. And then I'm kind of curious what you guys thought about this next segment of the game. Is that like, so she rips his heart out. She kind of screws off and does her own thing. And then Chris arrives on the scene and he sees that Ethan's basically laying there heartless and dead. And then
did he show up or did he get a radio call?
I thought he showed up, but maybe
somebody took the picture.
It's what he has agent. Some of his squad is watching Miranda.
I thought the squad called out that Ethan was dead. I didn't.
Yeah,
think
they were sending him the pictures of it.
Yeah,
because he's in a Jeep, like out of the village.
Oh, right. Yeah, because then you get to play as Chris for a little bit, and then you get like your full tactical Call of Duty equipment set. Because I thought that this. Yeah, I thought this was like the most Call of Duty-esque mission in part of the game. So you got like I don't know what weapons you all had, but
It was
It's
a
like
pistol.
the Dragoon, which is
machine
like
gun.
a bullpup, and then there's like a high-powered pistol.
Yeah.
You got a laser pointer for calling in backup shots, and you got like this badass knife.
Did you get some
Yeah.
grenades too?
you got
Yeah.
you get like a
Grenades too.
karambit knife, and you get
Yeah.
you get a ton of grenades.
It's so great. It's
But
so
yeah.
much fun.
You basically run back through the village, and you're just like slaughtering lichens, just like you were at the Stronghold, all the way in until you reach the metamycete. You have to use that cool like.
But you see too where where was the ceremony site up there where you put your baby stuff. It's all before you get into town. You see that all covered up with this mega mycete stuff. But then you had to get in. What were we looking for underneath? There was we were looking for the actual
Like the
Yeah.
core.
source,
Yep.
the
The main-
heart or whatever. Yeah.
Which turns out to be the symbol that we had seen all over the village the whole time.
Right.
Yep.
So I enjoyed it. I felt like this was another like stress reliever. Like
Yeah.
after going through the factory, this felt a lot like the lichen part, but only you pretty much had unlimited ammo. You could just pick up more in the little drop stations.
Yep.
But I felt so good, like a badass after going through the whole rest of that game, kind of conserving ammo as best as I thought I needed to. For the most part, I know I had more ammo probably than you guys, but just it felt great because the first time you ran through that same kind of chunk of the village, because it felt a lot like when you walked there the first time with Ethan. Like I felt there was like a parallel. Okay, you're walking Chris through a similar path, and the lichens start popping out. And at the beginning of the game with Ethan, you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? By this point in the game, you're just like, oh, I know how to kill you. And you're just like popping everything through the way. It just felt really good. I don't know why. Maybe it's super dark of me to say it felt good.
No.
It
That's what the game wanted you to feel right there. Is feel that
That's-
strength, that power, that everything you've earned.
Yep.
that
Chris
vengeance,
Redfield.
Yeah.
That Chris Redfield energy.
revenge
I was
for Ethan.
Yeah.
for a little bit when you first started off as Chris Radcliffe, like I was actually a little pissed because I was like, I spent the whole damn game conserving so much ammo, and now it's in Ethan's dead body over here. Obviously, they gave you a ton on your machine gun, but I was like, damn it. But I was having fun in that area until you blow up. What is it? You have to go find the heart thing. So you call in the airstrike on that one building and blow it up, and you can go underground. I didn't like fighting like Urias 2.0 or whatever. He had like a spike hammer thing.
It's like his.
I
I,
just
can't
didn't-
remember if it's his cousin or what it was.
Something like that. Yeah, it was a thing like that, but he had this big spike ball hammer. I forget what that medieval weapon's called. Anyways, and I was like, I didn't like that you were in that tiny little thing, and you just had to wait 20 minutes for that target locator thing to recharge so you could fire again. So yeah.
What did Chris say when he got into that? Wasn't he like, "Ooh, I need assistance. I've got a badass here," or something like that? Like, it was kind of mocking in the same tone. Like,
Yeah.
ooh,
Well, and I don't think you need the rocket. I think you can kill him.
You can actually.
Yeah, if you're
Can you?
determined enough.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a lot
Gotcha.
of
I mean,
ammo, but
I was kiting him around, shooting
Mhm.
him, waiting for the thing to recharge. So took three shots. So
Yep.
Okay. When I play again in a couple years, I'll just mow him down.
I'm already in the middle of my second
Yeah.
playthrough.
But one thing we should probably mention, because I think this came into play a little later, is as you come up on this village, and like we were saying, you see the whole ceremony area covered in all this goo. That's when you first see were they BSAA agents
Yep.
dropping in?
Yep.
Yeah,
So
in their own separate osprey.
yeah.
That got ripped to the ground pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Then you get into Miranda's lab, which I'm assuming this was done on purpose. It felt like that little lab area you get to right before the end in 7, where like, oh, here's a whole bunch of info
I was
dump
gonna say
to
it's
help
just
piece everything
exposition.
together.
Yep.
This is piece everything together. This is where you find out about all the lords and blah blah blah, and then you find something else in there too. So
Yeah, this is kind of where like the big aha revelation moment is, where you find out that this is where you find out that Miranda's got ties to Spencer and kind of taught Spencer a whole, like, you find out that basically Miranda basically taught Spencer everything that he knew about like biology and all
gave
that.
birth to the Umbrella Corporation, which
Right.
is why the logo for the town is the same as the logo to Umbrella, which is
Yep.
right over
Spencer
your shoulder
used. Yep. Spencer used the logo, basically the symbol of the Four Lords, to kind of as inspiration for the Umbrella Corp logo, the Umbrella Corp logo later down the line.
And we learned
Yeah.
her motivation, that she lost her daughter to the Spanish flu, and she believes this to be the way to get her back.
Mm-hmm.
And wasn't this also the same place we find out isn't there a difference between the Mega and Metamycete? The Metamycete was with, what was her name? Evelyn in Louisiana.
Yep.
And then there's the Megamycete, which is in this town. And that's where, Miranda, after her kid died, which she was all sad and went into a cave and found some black goo.
Mm-hmm.
That changed our lives forever.
Goo.
Yep. You realize that it's actually the same mold.
Yeah.
It's the same
They're
stuff.
all related, yeah.
Yep.
What is
The
it, like
stuff
a
that was
95% commonality and like a 5% difference or something like that? I know they discuss
don't
it.
know.
I can't remember.
There's a little
But
difference
basically,
between...
you find out that the origin of the mold is this village.
Yep.
This
Yep.
village is the origin of where the mold came from.
And those experiments help kind of spawn, like you were saying, the Umbrella Corp with this Spencer guy, who I don't know.
So if I understood it right, Spencer took the mold and created the virus.
He took because the mold. He took the concept. The virus came from Africa, not from Europe. That's what the whole Resident Evil 5 piece was.
Right.
But he got the idea of using basically that kind of contact vector, the mold or virus, as opposed to, I can't remember what else he was thinking of. But he decided that mold wouldn't work because it's too slow. It has to move host to host, whereas a virus can kind of just explode and cover everything.
Gotcha. And so
they had such mixed results with the Metamycete in humans, and so it caused a lot of defects with a lot of the things that it got in contact with, i.e. the Four Lords. And you find out in this lab too that the Four Lords are all just an experiment they were all failed experiments by Miranda. She was experimenting with all this mold, trying to use these Four Lords to see what would happen if she found like the quote perfect specimen for
and she viewed Eva. Heisenberg was the best result she got, but it wasn't good enough.
Yep.
Yeah, and it seemed like she was trying to, maybe I missed this, Rich, is that she was trying to figure out how to use one of those four to resurrect her child as well. So it wasn't just that they were her experiments, but the experiments were geared towards, like what had been said. I think, Chris, you were saying about, trying to bring her back. It was, she needs a host, and those were the ones. And then you find the next book, and I think it was about Rose, or the discovery of Rose, saying that she is the exact perfect fit for what she's trying to do with Ava. Was it
Eva?
Yeah, Eva.
Ava.
Yep, she's trying to base. And you also find out that the Metamycete, the mold, can retain consciousness of dead people, basically.
Yeah, anyone it's come into contact with.
Yep.
So after that, you get the whole
massive exposition dump.
Yep.
You get all that information. You search the room. There's like a bunch of photos everywhere. You go through the photo gallery, and then you find Mia. Mia is still alive. She's locked up in a cage. First thing Chris does is put the gun to her face, and he's like, calls to like the radio, and it's like, "Hey, you still have eyes on Miranda?" And they're like, "Yep." He's like, "Is that really you, Mia?" And she's like, "Yes. What the fuck are you doing? Get that gun away from me!" Right? So we almost lost Mia twice, depending on how that went. But then you start talking, and she's like, "Where's my family? What's going on?" Chris says, "I'm trying to go save Rose, but Ethan's gone." like he's dead. And she's like, no, you don't understand. Ethan is like a special boy.
He
He's
is a special boy.
And then it kind of cuts out to like a dream sequence where Ethan has regrown his fingers and has his wedding ring back. And that's where it caught me. I was like, oh, he has his ring back. Cool. Like, how did he regrow a ring? Because that's pretty gnarly. It turns out it's kind of like an illusion dream sequence with Ava, I think, or Eva.
No, with Evelyn. It's
Sorry,
Evelyn from 7.
The 7, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's kind of a dream sequence with that, which plays into the next part, is that you actually find out that Ethan is pretty much this mold, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he is, at some point, he was killed by the Bakers and turned into part of this experiment, and he turned into being one of the best possible outcomes from this this mold. So you are a mold, but you wake up from this thing, you're in the Duke's cart, and you're being carted to like the final destination of the game, right? In there, the Duke mentions that you don't have a lot of time left. So I'm assuming that like removing the heart is kind of like where things are going poorly for Ethan. He's starting to break down. If you remember, like back in with like the Bakers, you'd have to shoot them how many ever times until they exposed like a weak point, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, more or less.
So like with the older gentleman, you had to put like a chainsaw to him until it like finally popped out. I'm wondering if that was like the same situation for Ethan, but it was his heart and all that. Anywho, next up, you have a full conversation with the Duke. You get some story aspects about why Ethan is who he is, what happened to him. And then it's on to the fight with Miranda, which is an interesting fight.
Well, and I want to hit on this one quick part about when Ethan died in Resident Evil 7, because it's basically within the first hour. Right after he defeats Mia for the first time and Jack kicks him in the head, he died. And that was it. The rest of the game, you are basically mold Ethan.
Yeah,
which is.
I'm glad you pointed that out because I was going to bring it up. I was like he literally, it's like the start of the game is dead.
Yeah, it's so weird to think about.
Which again, at this point, you're like, oh, that's why Ethan could take the beating he took. It drilled in the hand, arms cut off, and all this crazy stuff. Yeah,
stabbed and all sorts of. Yep, he can regenerate all of his stuff with a quick splash of a couple of good.
He never needed the hypo spray. He never had to stab himself. He only had to give it to. He used one on Jack and one on his wife, or Zoe
whatever.
in Mike's case.
Zoe, thank you.
Yeah. No, so yeah, you make your way up to Miranda, and
yeah, it's interesting because you walk in there and she's like pulling a baby out of the goo. Essentially, she's taken all of the flasks or phylacteries, if you are good with lich lore, and like pulls out this baby, and it doesn't seem like it's the baby she wanted to pull out. It's still Rose. So she freaks out. I think, is it Chris shoots her in the head?
Yeah.
Or somewhere. I just saw her like snap off to the side. Ethan goes to fight for his baby, gets his butt kicked, and you start into the actual fight with Miranda. I was disappointed in the last boss fight. I mean, Biohazard had a pretty simplistic boss fight too at the end, but
I remember that was our
way more
complaint.
thematic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one was kind of a. Well, I'll say my boss battle was a little unique. I'll get into that in a second, but like, yeah, it was just kind of run around, dodge her little, what was it, shoot her little goo bubbles
things, yeah,
and just bullet sponge. Which again, I mean, like you could argue a lot of the bosses were that way, but they had something unique about them. This one I didn't think like was that exciting, and yeah, it reminded me of kind of like after I beat it, like it just didn't feel good, just like beating the end of Biohazard. It was just like it was. Because I remember that being pretty easy. If I remember, the hardest part was, what was it? There was like a point where Eva was like wind or blowing at you or something. So you had to dodge.
That was
like
the hardest
that was like
part.
the hardest thing. Otherwise, it was just shoot him a bunch. So
Yeah.
kind of got the same feeling here, where mine was unique and exciting, and I thought I game captured it. I caught the tail end of it, but I literally was like dead. my screen was all red when she finally grabbed you the last time. I just got some bad timing on my part. Almost died. So I'm basically dead. One more hit, I'm gone. And that's when I got the little, like, she grabs you and then you can just shoot her in the face and ta-da, you win. So it was kind of exciting in that aspect, going, holy shit, I made it by skin of my teeth, one more little hit, I would have been gone, but nope, I won. So kind of felt good in that way. But yeah, the boss fight was meh.
Yeah, the boss fight was meh.
I put 8 Magnum rounds in her face, and it was
There
done.
you go.
It was over.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah. Then she grabbed me and picked me up, and I was just like, "Here's another Magnum shot."
I started crafting and I loaded up pretty good. I didn't want to use all my resources just in case I needed some more heals, or the explosive rounds weren't, doing anything with her as far as the grenade launcher. So I didn't just go in there just guns blazing, dropping everything, because I figured there might be some sort of like transformation or something where it's like a stage 2 or something like that. So I was like, I don't want to burn all my ammo right at the start. But literally by the end of it, it was like I just should just go in guns blazing and just do as much damage as I can. And yay. I mean, she had a couple different attacks, but it wasn't like, again, she didn't transform or didn't have like a second stage. It was just her couple different attacks.
I was expecting phases, to be honest. I was
Same.
expecting multiple
She
adjustments.
kind of had them. I mean, she had
Well, the night, like the lights go out, and then she like charges you. But...
one. She also changed from like her I don't know if you want to call it bird or angel form to more of a spider form, and
She does that periodically throughout the fight,
Yeah.
regardless of how much damage you do to her. You don't really it's not as much of a hard line between phases as, say, in Resident Evil 7, where it would go from like fighting the kid to fighting like the creepy face to fighting like the creepy face bursting out of a house that's like bigger than a mountain, sort of a thing.
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting something on that caliber, just something kind of like over the top, ridiculous. Like,
I think they really wanted their dramatic ending, so it kind of, you had to forego some of that to an extent.
yeah, which is kind of weird because like you never really interact with Mother Miranda throughout most of the game.
You
so it's
do.
hard to... Well, kind of.
Yeah.
But you don't know that's who that is.
I beg to differ. As soon as I saw her come up and like all the werewolves took off, I was like, okay, she's got a lot of power. And then they started mentioning like Mother Miranda, and I was like, oh, that has to be like tiny old lady, has to be her.
Yeah. We didn't talk about her much, but yeah, the old creepy lady that you see 3 or 4 times throughout the game. I pieced that together about halfway through. I was like, yeah, she's got to be Miranda.
Yeah, but the thing that they didn't do so well is they didn't really build that sort of antagonistic relationship between Ethan and Mother Miranda. They've been kept separate pretty much the entire game, so that when they finally meet for the big clash, it's just kind of like all right, well, I guess Ethan wins. There didn't really feel like there was much tension between the two of them, other than by circumstance they had something in common, which was the baby. Yeah,
I think that they weren't trying to build up that tension because Miranda never thought of you like really being a threat, so she wasn't going to antagonize you. What I think the main driver was supposed to be is just your want to save your child, right? That felt like more the driving force, and more your antagonist was not having it, is like what other hoops do I have to go through? This is an impediment to me getting my daughter back along the way. So every single thing I think was hinged on how it related to you getting your daughter back. And that one was the final. It's physically holding Rose, like somewhere inside of it. You have to kill it, right?
Yeah, and I mean that's a good basis for having a good antagonist, but when you're writing a good antagonist, what you really want is you want their paths to cross. You want there to be conflict, because the conflict generates the drama that drives the story. Whereas we didn't really have much of a conflict with Mother Miranda. We had conflict with her sort of tertiary henchmen. Yeah, we had conflicts with their henchmen, but even then it was so short-lived that like it didn't really feel like we were really fighting Mother Miranda or her children. We were really just trying to save the baby, and they were just kind of in the way.
I personally thought that Chris Redfield was a better antagonist through most of it.
Yeah, that was weird.
And that Heisenberg was a better antagonist because there was so much more interaction with him than there was with Miranda. Like even when you're going through like his like that whole section of his factory, he's talking to you the whole time. Like he's over the intercom talking just some serious smack at you. So I felt like they did a great job with that one. I just don't think it was enough, to your point, to say the baby is your reason. I think that's what they tried for. I just don't think it was delivered as hard or deep as they wanted it to go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying that I thought would have been way better is if they built that conflicting relationship between Miranda and Ethan more.
So
I don't know how they would have done that. Maybe revealing that Mia was Mother Miranda the whole time or something like that. And, she stole his family or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how you would do it, but I think that's what made it feel so. I think that was a component as to why finishing off Miranda as the last boss didn't feel as satisfying.
So you put the last bullet in her face. She melts away, and Ethan finally catches Rose and gets to hold her again. And then he starts kind of crumbling. Like he starts falling apart, actually. Like, so when you kill a monster in Resident Evil, they kind of like break apart in like this ashy, dusty, breaky stone kind of way, right? So Chris ends up coming down to save you, tries to carry you out. There's bombs on everything and anything in the village, specifically on the metamycete or whatever it is.
Megamycete.
Megamycete. It's on Mega Mouse, whatever, right?
Mega Man, yeah.
And they need to get out of the village before they blow it up. But Ethan can tell he's not going to make it. It's going to be too difficult. He's going to fall apart before he gets there. So he shoves Chris and Rose like across a chunk of a bridge right before a big tendril like breaks through it. And at the same time has the best sleight of hand I've ever seen because he also gets the detonator. And he just goes and walks back into like or I don't know if he walked back. I don't remember. Or
he
if
didn't walk far.
There.
He walked
turned around
because it was coming at them.
Got it. So Chris gets Rose in unbelievable speed to the ship and flies off.
Yeah, right.
And Ethan hits the button, and all you see is from like a plane's view, the whole village area blowing to smithereens. And that's kind of Mia's like, "Where's Ethan?" And Chris is like, "Dang it, he died," after like punching the wall, all super.
It's very dramatic.
Very dramatic, yeah. So that's kind of the end of the game for the most part. There is a chunk after, like an end of credits piece, but
what about? I'm assuming this is important. You guys that know about the Blue Umbrella or whatever it was in the BSAA, right?
Yep.
You find out that they pulled a BSAA agent into the helicopter, and he's all like zombie looking. Yeah, you guys might know more about this than I do.
The BSAA was originally like the cleanup for when Umbrella fucked everything up. The BSAA was going. You actually play like when you play Jill in Revelations, I think it is. She's with the BSAA and is working through.
Chris and Five.
Chris, yep. Chris is in Revelations as well.
I can't remember that one.
So you're working with the BSAA, and then some things don't line up correctly. You find out they're kind of a bit of a bad guy in this situation too, but they're using bioweapons as their soldiers now to go do things. So in the end, Chris is like, they still have Mia on the plane, so it's kind of funny. But he was just like, "We're going straight to the BSAA, like set a course for that," and that's kind of the end of where things are at.
RE9.
Probably.
Dun, dun, dun. What's the post-credit scene?
Yeah, then there's the post-credits.
Did you watch it, Rich?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, is this a surprise for you? Because
No. I was just asking you to describe it.
So many, many years later, I think we get like a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, maybe 18, Rose, is walking towards like a bunch of graves. And she puts some flowers down or whatever on Ethan's grave, and then turns around to walk back and runs into what I can only assume is like one of Chris's guys, The
Handlers.
Hound, yeah, one of a handler for her. They get into a little bit of a tussle because he makes a bad joke. She gets in the car with the guy and they go to drive off. But as they're driving, it gets further and further away, so you can barely see it. Some lone figure comes walking up towards the side of the car, and they hit their brakes and stop the vehicle, and then it just cuts out.
She also mentions in their little argument they have that's like, she's like, I even have power, like I can like mess you up. I have powers that even Chris doesn't even know about.
Yeah, I'm not 100% convinced this is that far into the future. You guys might remember Evelyn from Resident Evil 7 could look like was only supposed to be actually a couple of years old, but could look like I don't know, a 10-year-old or something like that, or a really old woman because the mold made her age. So a part of me really thinks that this girl is not as old as we think she is.
I want to know what she is. This gets back to the very start
she's
of this.
A mold baby in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, right? Because it was mold dead baby or mold dead Ethan and Mia.
Mm-hmm. Who had been infected with the mold.
Who was also infected. So this is like, so this is going to be some crazy mold baby, like you said. So anything goes.
So there's two really big rumors going around on the interweb about what happened at the end of there. One of it is that Ethan is not dead, and because somebody took a screenshot in the camera mode and picture mode, zoomed it way in, took a picture, and then compared the models of what the character walking and Ethan's model, and it apparently matched 100%. Like, it is the same. It's an apparent, it's a rumor. I didn't do the research, but so that could happen. But it did say at the end the father's story is done.
Yeah.
What other people are speculating is it can still be Ethan, but he's not alive. That Rose has the ability to communicate and speak with the dead. So there's
that makes sense.
Bruce Willis,
part of the Mega Mycete.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's part of the they established that already. Is that since he's part mold, I mean, his dead consciousness kind of lives through the mold.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And if she's part of the mold, she could probably do the same thing too. The thing I'm kind of confused about though is if Ethan's part of the mold and killing the big heart thing killed Ethan, why is Rose still alive? If she's part mold.
I think because
she's also part baby.
Yeah, I think she was human enough. Or they had some way to keep her alive. I mean, if anyone could figure it out,
maybe Mia was pregnant when Ethan was murdered. So it's
they hadn't seen each other.
It's not Ethan's kid.
In like 10 years.
It's not Ethan's kid. I don't know.
Ooh. Oh, what was that? What was the
Lucas?
brother's name? Lucas. Yeah.
Oh,
it's a Lucas baby.
gross.
Maybe. Guess we'll find out in our
we have not pointed out the framing device around the whole game, the Village of Shadows.
Yeah, that's true. We never talked about that.
The very well done, like Tim Burton kind of esque storybook. Really creepy storybook.
I was going to bring this up. Yeah, I really liked it, and I liked at the end. You
get the end of the story.
You get the end of the story, and you also put together a lot of those creatures that the little girl found on her way through the forest were basically the four lords.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. Yeah, I really like that. That was a neat video, a neat little story. Yeah.
There's probably a super cut of it somewhere somebody put online to be able to watch the entirety of it.
Don't they have it? Like, it's one of the unlockables, I thought.
Was it?
I
think so.
Is. I'm sure it is.
I didn't really go too deep into the unlockables. I just unlocked
Mercenaries.
Redfield's handgun.
Oh.
No, I mean that too, but I didn't get the Magnum fully upgraded, and I didn't care to get unlimited ammo for anything else, so I just unlocked the handgun that Chris Redfield had in it and unlocked
infinite ammo.
Infinite for it. So
that's the exact same thing I did. That's what I'm playing on my second playthrough with.
It's such a fast gun.
It is so much fun. I don't care about any other gun in that game now.
So overall, what were your guys' thoughts about it? You know, comparing it from RE7, going, you know, all the way back to book club number 1 to this one, book club number, what is this? 13, 12?
It depends on if you count Gears and Hellblade.
Well,
but
I don't.
So I
yeah,
think
so 11.
I think
Officially
Hellblade
11.
Hellblade and Gears was like the early ideas of this to try and do like game reviews, but I
It's
think
not an official book club.
right. It wasn't until we all decided we were going to sit down and all play the same game and make those decisions. You know, it was only like part of the cast even wanted to do it. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I if I remember correctly, I had nothing but good things to say about 7. I really enjoyed it. It was my first Resident Evil game. And I absolutely love this one. You know, obviously my little minor complaints, but I had so much fun playing through this. You know, I don't feel bad for spending. I guess I got it on sale for like $40, but typically it's a $60 game. But yeah, I like it. Go. Well, I mean, I'd say probably around the holidays if you haven't played Biohazards or
It's on
Resident.
sale right
Sorry, my friend gave me a hard time for this. If you go and if you haven't played Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, it's a holidays. It's probably cheap somewhere. I think it's like $10 now on the PlayStation Store.
wasn't
right?
that on Game Pass too?
And
Isn't
then-
that
and
why
then-
we played it?
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't think it's on there anymore. Is it? No, it is. I think it's still on there.
That's good. It came off, and I think it's back on again.
Basically, what I'm saying is, if you haven't played 7, go play that and then
Me
pick
too.
this up and
Yep.
play this. I think they're both fun. I had a great as the first 2 Resident Evil games I've played. I'm almost a tiny bit worried to go back to the old ones because I won't have those rose tinted glasses to be like, oh, this is so fun.
Well, I'd
Rose
say
tinted.
if anything, the Resident Evil 2 remake definitely holds to the rest of these. And
That's
I
good.
think it was a very, very good remake of the original Resident Evil 2.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is up there for, I mean, one of my favorite Resident Evil games, easily. I
Mhm.
love the gothic look of everything. It was so much fun to play and explore. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, this was a ton of fun.
Looked great.
Mhm.
I enjoyed it. There were some parts that I was kind of like, all right, I just want to get through this, but the overall experience definitely worth it. The thing that I liked the most about it is I felt like I really wanted to know what the hell was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like with every single situation, you're running through it, and you get just a tidbit more of information, another little tidbit of information, until it all pieced together. Like it was just really cool to try and like make the guesses at what was going on, to find out, you know, the finale and get your real answers. So absolutely worth it. Not to mention playing it on Stadia and buying it on Stadia. I got a free Stadia Premier Edition out of it. So
Now you can't shit on it as much anymore.
it's, you know what? If they had a search functionality and crossplay on everything, it's not a bad system. I didn't have a single hiccup. It played great, and it was really nice to just be able to pick up a controller. You know, I've got a Chromecast Android TV, so it's already built into it. Super simple. Only thing I wish I would have had is the Premiere controller, because I could not take screenshots or snapshots with the camera because the button didn't exist on the controller for the Xbox. So
Gotcha.
that's kind of the only thing, is like, if you're using a different controller to the Stadia version of the game, just know that some of these beautiful scenes that I really wanted to take pictures of, you won't be able to without the Premiere controller.
Interesting. Also, it is still on Game Pass.
Is it? Okay.
Yep. As
Yeah,
of recording this
excellent.
right now, it is on Game Pass. So if
And-
you do have Game Pass, you can go ahead and play Resident Evil 7. It's very good.
So many
And then
things are
listen
on
to our book club.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
many things are on sale right now because of Halloween. So
Mhm.
I know you can get Village on sale right now.
Yep. And just because of that House Beneviento segment alone is great nightmare fuel for Halloween.
Seriously,
So yeah, I'd say
Really
if
well done.
anything. Oh, it was
It'll
so good.
haunt your nightmares.
I really wish that the whole game could have been like that to a degree, but I like how the game, I mean, even for a Resident Evil game, has a nice pacing of like puzzle solving, action, and they kind of bounce back and forth between the two, so it's not too much of one or the other. I really liked it. I mean, I remember with Resident Evil 7, I had a little bit of nitpicks with it This one, I'm really, really having a hard time finding things to like nitpick about, things that like didn't make sense, or the biggest nitpick that I have is that the ending boss fight doesn't feel as good as the rest of them, and that's it. Like I think that's all the biggest complaint that I have. And coming from somebody who didn't like Resident Evil 4, 5, or 6, and kind of fell out of the franchise for a while because of that, like this, they slam dunked it with 7, and then they just did another slam dunk with 8. Like it's been so good. This is good stuff.
Cool. You guys think we get Rose as our main character in the next game?
I kind of hope so.
That's
That has
my
weird
guess.
mold power, I hope.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be Chris with Rose. Would be my assumption.
Will
Yeah,
be
I'm
like
kinda-
a God of War thing where Chris is just saying, girl.
No, I'm sure it'll be closer to like old school Resident Evil branching.
It's
I
gonna
don't-
be I feel like it's gonna be hard to kind of keep continuing the story because they're kind of running out of like sources of bad
Mhm.
stuff that's happening. So they killed the, Umbrella Corp kind of fell apart and went into bankruptcy. I think they got rid of the source of the what is it, the original virus that Spencer
Yeah,
used.
the Ouroboros or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think they got rid of it, didn't they?
Yeah,
It's been so long since I played 5 or 6. I don't remember much of what
they were
happened in
not
there.
Good. It's fine.
Yeah. And yeah, they just destroyed the Metamycete in this one. So it's kind of like what is really going to be out there to give conflict anymore. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
The only thing I can think of is like Rose is the only thing left of that whole thing. So maybe people are trying to get to her to like restart the research or restart using this.
And that could be a path they take.
And then you're just Chris this time, or Mia this time, trying to hunt down Rose again because she was taken.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that'd be
this
kind
is
of
just
cool.
going to be a Taken trilogy from like 8, 9, and 10. But, cool. Anything else you guys wanted to bring up about this here game?
I don't think so. Did you guys do a lot of the treasure hunting? I didn't.
A couple.
I did a
Most
lot
them.
of it. I think I found a majority of them. I found it fun, especially the combinable treasures. I
Mhm.
mentioned before I like the ball game things. I was kind of sad I didn't get the 4th one.
Mhm.
That just unlocked some crystal skull things that gave you
To sell.
to sell and meet aliens with and stuff. What was the other thing?
Meat aliens.
The wooden goats. I thought I found majority of those.
There's so many, and they're
Um,
hidden so well.
a few of the actual hidden treasure box things. If you guys went to find them, especially back at the I can't say it, Beneviento grave, there's like these huge, almost like
Yeah,
mini
there's
boss
giants.
creatures that are just bullet sponges, and they summon other little bosses. So those are fun, but kind of annoying because I burn a lot of ammo on both. There was another one up, it was up by the Stronghold, but that was, what they call that? Anyways, it was up near the Stronghold, the mill. That's what it was. So I did a lot of it. I guess I didn't. I'd have to look through and see if there was stats to see how. I'm sure there's probably
Look at
achievements
your
I could look at
challenges. It'll tell you everything you missed.
to see. Yeah,
Who had the fastest time?
I did a lot of that exploring, so I think I clocked in at like 11 and a half because I did spend a lot of time running through the villages, unlocking all the stuff. Which, let me point out too, a lot of the buildings and rooms and things in these places, if you search them and found everything you needed to in them, that on the map they turn blue, which I thought was a really
Super
nice
helpful. touch
for someone like me who I wasn't trying 100%, but I did try to clear out as much stuff as I could. So I know
That's a classic Resident Evil thing, by the way.
Mhm.
I really
Just as a
like it.
heads up.
I
Yeah.
know a lot of games don't do things like that, and it was just helpful for, again, someone like me who did spend probably an extra 2 or 3 hours running around villages or running around the castle or whatever, trying to collect everything I
Yeah.
could.
I was a little bit above 8, but I did have to leave it paused for a while because the lady friend wanted to go get dinner, and I was in the warehouse with no save spot. So And PlayStation 5's resume is not super reliable. So I said, cool, pause.
Nice.
Mike?
I clocked in just a little bit over 9 hours, like 9 hours 10 minutes. I did a lot of exploration too, not as much as you probably, Matt, but had to
I
find
didn't do
those
a lot
dang
of
toilets.
I didn't do a lot of exploration, so I was a little over 7 hours.
Yeah, I did get the actual like all of the actual marked treasure boxes on the map once. I forget who is it, the Duke that puts those on the map for
Yeah.
you. I forget.
Yep.
Yeah. So like I went around to that. I tried to clear out. Yeah, I did a lot. So good times.
Did you guys ever get the voice line from the Duke that said,
What are you buying?
"What are you buying?"
Yeah,
and
oh
he
yeah.
just kind of chuckles and he's like, "An old friend of mine used to say that."
Yep.
Yep.
A great moment.
Nice
I-
little throwback.
I thought I remember a comment like that, but it probably just went over again.
It's
It's a
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil
RE4.
4.
Yep.
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 Cool. Well, I think the campfire recommendation is that this is a bonfire, and you should definitely go pick it up. With that, thanks guys for playing games with me. Anybody else that played along with us, thank you as well. And if you have some thoughts or comments, drop those on our Discord or on the YouTube itself. You know, it was pretty amazing. Check us out at our website, campfiregamingpodcast.com. There you can find links to our Discord, our Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all of those things. Make sure that if you do jump over to our YouTube to watch this, that you hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoy our content. As always, thank you so much, and we will see you next time around the campfire.